You know what this is. You know why you are here. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live from La Ciudad de Nueva York, the greatest city in the world. At some point it was, at least. What's going on, everybody around the world? I hope you are well. I hope good things are happening in your life. Why is it every time the show starts, my nose itches? Isn't that the weirdest thing? Like, as soon as the show starts, I gotta itch my nose. What's wrong with me? You know? Must be that crummy blow I did as a teenager in the Bronx. What's going on? It is Sunday shout out day. Oh, thank you. Got the Rockin' the Take shirt. Yep. There you go. Chocolate and whiskey. It is Sunday shout out day. So let's get some, what's up? What's up, Jacob? How are you, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. What's going on in Brazil? Come on now. Where in Brazil are you, Bruno? Hey, Philip. Good. Hanging out with Charles Bronson in Brownsville. Why, did Charles Bronson live in Brownsville, Vermont? Isn't Charles Bronson dead? You're hanging out with the corpse of Charles Bronson? Very strange. Oh, okay. Right on, Bruno. Belo Horizonte. Belo Horizonte? There you go. Oh, Davey Gunner, what's up? Now I feel bad, Steven. I have to put the flyer up because Davey's tuning in. All right. He's dead, dude. He's dead, Jim. Charles Bronson's dead. Why are you hanging out with his corpse? What's up in the UK? I thought Sepultura is from Sao Paulo. No? What's going? Hey, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live from Abilene, Texas to friggin' Poland and everywhere in between. It is Sunday shout out day. So no, apparently not. No. Sepultura's from here. Yeah. You know what? Let's bring the hardcore shutterbug on, but I want to mention what's coming up real quick here. Real quick. Next 4 shows. Coming up, so you better get this party started. A week from today, Sal, Enemy, Lococo from Sworn Enemy will be on the show. After that, from 24/7 Spies, right? A little 24/7 Spies coming on the show. Jimmy Hazel is on September 29th. Then the big 150th show with Paris Mayhew from Agros, Chromags, filmmaker. Looking forward to that one. How about Handsome Dick Manitoba coming on the show? Huh? Put your hard hats on for that one. That should be pretty crazy, Anyway, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, The Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and here he is, the Hardcore Shutterbug.
What's up?
Bro, what's up?
Shout out Sunday. Got to shout out Davey Gunner right off the bat.
You know what? I feel bad now. I better find that flyer, right?
Yeah, we got something special coming. It's a ways away.
I know, Davey. I know the only reason Davey's watching the show is to see the flyer.
It's a good one. It's a good one. We got something really, really cool coming for November. And I'll let you find it.
Yeah, give me a second. There's 300 flyers on the desktop. I love when my mind starts playing tricks on me. It's like, where is it? I don't see it.
Ah, man. It's in your messenger.
No, strange. All right. Let's try again. La, 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 la. Here it is.
All right. There we go.
Here's your fakakta flyer already. Listen, you know what? You wouldn't have gotten away with this flyer with me, bro. You would not have gotten away with this flyer with me, dude. No way. There you go.
Boom.
Yeah. All right, Davey Gunner, you happy?
Take a look at that.
Serial Poets, End of Hope, featuring Davey Gunner of Kraut, The End AD from Philly, Enziguri, and Cripple Earn, celebrating Exhausting Existence EP. All right. You asked me first about this, Davey? I don't remember that. All right. Listen, this would not have flown under my watch. This looks like something out of like a kid's show to me. Like I would have sent the hardcore show. I would have sent whoever designed this flyer back to the drawing board. I said, "What is this? What is this? What is this? A cartoon? A romper?
Everybody knows who that is."
And the first thing I would have said was, "No more friggin' superheroes on the goddamn flyers, man." God, no fucking superheroes or Planet of the Apes. I'm sick of that shit.
You freak!
Just shut up, you freak! All right, there you go. There you have it. Go see the show, even though the flyer sucks.
Wow.
All right. Let's get why is our guest why are you sending me messages, Christian? What are you doing, bro? I'm gonna why are you blowing up my phone? You're coming on in 10 minutes, dude. Relax. All right, let's do photo of the day. Hey, I tell you what, we're gonna have a good time today, all right? Let's get your panties all bunched up. Fucking freaks. All right, photo of the day. What did I do with it? Photo of the day, not to be confused with album of the week. Yep. All right, here we go. Okay, listen, something about this. I want to say this about this photo of the day. Do not make fun of this photo, all right? This is not wrong answers only, please, because this is a sensitive subject, all right? Here we go. Photo of the day. Boom. All right? There you go. Tell us what this is, dude. Let's not even give them the chance to carry on. All right?
Well, you can see right away that this is at the Bowery Electric. And this was actually pre-pandemic when AF and Sick of It All did their all borough tour that they do every year, and which I absolutely love. Roger with the shaved head at this point, and without any kind of like headwear. I just think he looked like just awesome like that. And I don't know if everybody should be aware by now. Roger announced that he'd been fighting cancer, and that and it looked like that he was beating it, and he set up a GoFundMe, and a bunch of our photographers have gotten together. Drew has the information in regards to the what's and the whens, but we're all submitting digital images and other images like that for people to donate to Roger's cause and get some things in return. And really,
and these are two of the pictures that you're offering?
Yes, these are two of the ones that I threw it. Yes.
What is this Agnostic Front?
Yeah, Roger playing guitar in Agnostic Front. Yes,
I never saw Roger playing guitar in Agnostic Front.
Yeah, this is going back to 2003 at CB's, and this is one of my favorite shots of them. And that was, in fact, honestly, other than Roger and the Disasters, this is the only show I ever saw him pull the guitar out for.
Is that Mike Gallo playing bass?
Mike and Steve Gallo on drums. Yep.
I see in the background. I see Rob Kabula, former Agnostic Front bass player, and I see Cousin Joe right behind the drums. Yep. Yeah, this is
2003 wintertime, and in fact, Vinny's got a nihilistic shirt on. Yeah, this was one of my favorite shows back then. I had a great little spot to shoot from, and there are other shots from that show on there. And kind of hard picking through decades of shots of certain bands, but I picked a few from two of my favorite shows, past and present. So just
here is a screenshot I took of the Facebook page where everybody should go to pick up these photos. The link was too long, but our friend Ann is involved with this. Hardcore Photographers United Worldwide for Roger. Go check this out on Facebook, and some great photos up there. Go check it out. Yeah, right
from,
here,
from
dude.
all over the world. You know,
Jeff Bronk, my man. This is where you can find it. Hardcore Photographers United Worldwide for Roger. It's a group that they started. The link was just so long, I can't put the link up. You know,
it really is a long link.
Yeah. So there you go.
But you know what? I mean,
go ahead.
I think you said it best earlier. Is that if anybody deserves it, it's Roger. You know,
Roger. I love Roger, man. He's everybody. I mean, he's a good dude, man, and I've known him for a very, 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 very long time. You know, I went and visited him a couple months ago. I saw him, and he told me what was going on, and you know, mom was the word. You know what? I got a question about this photo here. Who's that on the left, like this, like hey! Right? Who is that?
I know who that is.
Tell me.
That's Danielle.
Yo, is it corny to have your girlfriend at the side of the stage when you play doing that? Is that corny?
Look who's right. Look who's right next to. Look who's right next to Danielle.
Oh, Rat Bones.
Rat Bones.
That's funny. All right,
actually,
you know what? You know
who else?
What?
You know who else is in there? He's actually like right behind Danielle. He was in the pit the whole night. Was Eugene Hutz from Gogo Bordello.
You know what? I'm gonna shout out. Yeah, I know, Lori. I know. I here we go. It was a setup, Lori. It was a setup. Here's the setup. It goes like this. Shout out Sunday, shouting out women in the pit. I'm just busting Danielle's chops, and I want to thank Danielle and Lori for coming out the other night. I got a picture here somewhere. Where the hell is it? Here we go. They came out to see.
Uh-oh. He froze up. I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. You froze up for a second.
Yeah, well, it's a cold world, bro. It's a cold, brutal world. There you go. This is from the other night. Shouting out Danielle, who's in the photo. Yo, what's up? Right? And there's Lori. Thank you for coming and seeing the band play. It was an awkward night in Long Island, but it was cool. It was a cool show. And there you go. Yep. I'm an otter pop. What is an otter pop? What does that mean? What does that mean? Yep. Oh, you love Lori too. Okay.
Doesn't love.
Oh, you're back?
Yeah, it did one of those things again where I got zapped into the biosphere there.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Lori? Come on.
I you know, I love everybody. I love everybody.
You all.
I love you all. Even the guys in the band, even the guys that I used to play with that hate my guts. I love them all. Oh, an otter pop. An otter pop is a frozen ice pop. Oh, I'm a frozen ice pop. I'm an otter pop.
Where is that? Where is that?
I don't know. Someone called me an otter pop.
I know an otter box is what your phone goes in, so it doesn't.
I know,
break.
like the outer limits. I know an otter swims around in the water, right? Hey, did you have a fun time yesterday at our thing?
Yesterday was awesome. It really was. You know, I got to say that was. I always see Tristan's pictures, and I'm always like, that looks so cool to come and shoot, and it was the first time I ever got to like watch like skaters like that, and it was so cool. I could have taken like 1,000 pictures yesterday of just those guys doing their thing. It was awesome. For
those wondering what we were doing yesterday, we shot footage for a new Antidote NYHC video. Jeff Pliskin directed it. Raised Fist Propaganda.
Boom.
There you go. Boom. And yeah, it was cool. It was.
It was great.
It had Chacho's Tacos represent.
Look at that. Yeah, there you go.
Yo, I wore the Chacho's Tacos shirt in part of the video. That's
awesome.
Whoa, what's up?
I saw you get clipped at one point during the song too.
Oh man, it wouldn't be a fucking show unless I got.
Unless you got scarred.
Yeah. Here's a good one.
Yeah, this was a blast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Here's another one.
Turning,
Hopefully.
buffering.
Come on. What's going on today?
It's aliens. I don't want to say it's aliens, but it's
there's some strange
aliens.
There you go. Look at that. That's a good one, huh?
There he is. Tell you something. Even with muffled drums, the guy is still a beast.
Yeah, he's an incredible drummer, man.
He really. At one point, I love when the drums slid down the skate ramp. I think at the end he should have just thrown the whole thing off the skate ramp. That would have looked.
Yeah,
awesome.
You know what? Tristan would have cried about his skate ramp.
That's true.
But here, last one, I promise. And I wasn't going to show any of these.
I know.
It's too self-serving. Like, welcome to my show, and here's my band. Right? Here's the last one. All right?
Sean's going airborne.
Yeah, me and my fat ass with the Clash shirt on,
It was great.
Yeah, the song in the video, yes, it's on the new single. It's called Scarred. That's the video we were doing yesterday. I am scarred. All right?
That's really cool he made that. What a blast.
He's a talented dude. Actually, here's the tie-in. Me and him did the Take video together, the first one, The Elitist. We both did the Take video together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great time and a lot of great people. And I was just so impressed by all the shit those guys are doing. That was really something.
Yeah.
I would break my ass probably within the first 5 minutes.
Yes, Tim, that is Tristan DeGraves, who plays bass in Antidote NYHC. He has a skate ramp in his backyard. And we were like, you know what? Let's shoot a video in the backyard on a skate ramp.
That's the Empire skate ramp.
Yeah, it's the Empire. Yeah, he's on he's on Instagram, Empire Skate Ramp.
Yep. That was awesome. It really was. And we had a beautiful day for it.
Yep. Eugene mentioned, who you talking about? From a couple minutes ago, the Eugene mentioned. You ever get him on the show? I'm not really sure. You talk about Eugene. Yeah, we had you. Yeah, we had Eugene on the show. We've had everyone on the show. We've had everybody. We've even had Charles Bronson on the show. Dug his ass up. All right, bro.
Awesome.
You want to shout anybody out?
You know what? I'm going to shout out a band called the Heartless Devils. I'm actually going over to Bowery Electric tonight to see at about 6 o'clock. Really good, 3-piece, sometimes 4-piece, old school kind of New York Dolls-ish kind of punk rock.
Right on.
So that's that.
Be careful. You're coming into New York City. You know what happens. You know what happens here, bro.
Tales from the hard side.
Hard side. Dun, dun, dun. I put a bullet in the head for your color of your skin. This is my neighborhood. Who the fuck what you is? All right, bro. See you later.
You got it.
What's happening? Oh, Eugene from Bordello. Yeah. Sure. Haven't had him on, but we'll get to it. I don't know. Is my signal bad today? Is it coming and going? Seems okay on this end. Is there problems? You got a problem? If you do have a problem, just to remind you that this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by The Organic Grill, Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and New York Hardcore Comics. They opened in 2013, selling comic books, punk rock, and hardcore memorabilia, toys, statues, skateboard decks, vinyl, and all things horror. We love helping bands push their demos or new tracks, so please stop by and drop off your new music. We have in-store events like Magic the Gathering, Warhammer tournaments, plus meet and greets with bands and some live performances. Open 7 days a week and shipping worldwide. Find us online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay. Located at 117 Main Street at Dobbs Ferry, New York. www.newyorkhardcorecomics.com. Also, Generation Records, since 1992, have been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used jazz, rock, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as T-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook or on Instagram. Is everything all right? Shout out to Malorica Lee for playing an awesome 5-hour DJ set last night and still up having a few beers. Okay. Boy, you guys are really hanging on to this Outer Limits thing, huh? Okay. Here you go. By the way, here's the link to the photos. Go find it. Go support it. Philippe, regards, a little question. Are AF and Madball going to Europe, to Poland? Regards once again. What do I look like? What do I look like? Live Nation, WWW. What the hell? How do I know? Look here, Philippe. There's this. There's a window above my show. If you type in Agnostic Front Europe Tour 2021 or 2, that stuff will come up. It's amazing. It's called the internet. It's bringing us all together. It's the latest in Earthling technology. Anyway, that said, enough being a wise ass. I don't know. I don't think AF has any plans to be out on the road as of right now, dude. I'm an otter pop because I was frozen for like 10 seconds. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, the virus of hate affects the ignorant mind. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Yeah. Oh, here, whoa. Shout out to Antidote NYHC, bro. Test pressing number 63 of 80. Every sing is great. Every sing a song. All right, here we go. Enough goofy shit. Let's bring our guest on. Come on, you clowns. What do I look like, a clown? All right, let me clear the deck. What the heck? Let's go. Here we go, yo. Today's guest is a musician, songwriter, producer, and avid fisherman hailing from Antwerp, Belgium. He is known for his work with the bands Fear Factory, Beowulf, Devin Townsend, Threat Signal, Archaea, Sunflower Dead, Snoop Dogg, Cypress Hill, and currently Vio-lence and Powerflo. Please welcome, coming at us from Los Angeles, California, Mr. Christian Olde Wolbers. Brah.
What up?
Kind of a goofy day here, dude. How are you?
It's a goofy day everywhere, probably, in some ways, shape, or form or another.
Yeah, this is the best, highest quality camera we've ever had for any guest. That is nice, man. That's nice. We appreciate you ramping your game up.
It's because of my OnlyFans. You got to use expensive gear, you know?
That's right.
I'm just kidding.
Let's get into it. What's the latest? How's things changed since the pandemic? It's been a year and a half now. What's going on with you?
I mean, I'm a pretty homebody, and one of the things I do that I love doing is, obviously, like you said, I fish. So that requires being in a spot somewhere on a lake by yourself usually. So that's pretty you're by yourself, so you're not around people, and it's kind of like a quarantine sport, really, because it's like camping. You're quarantining, and so for me, it hasn't really affected me that bad.
I'm sneak peek. I couldn't wait. I had to drop one of these pictures, man.
That's a big goldfish.
Wow, man.
Almost 40 pounds. Caught in the middle of a park lake in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this was like Europe or something.
Not the worst part of LA, but not the best either, because they closed it down at night because they found dead bodies in that lake before. So, but usually the nights are really good, and you can't really fish nights. It's like one of those things they don't allow you. Like in New York, they probably wouldn't allow you at Central Park at night to fish there.
I
I'm
had
sure they don't.
no idea this was in LA, bro.
There's fish like these in Central Park, but maybe not that big. There might be some 15, maybe a 20-pounder swimming around in Central Park for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what did happen in Central Park a couple years ago is one of the bigger lakes by the castle. They drained it for maintenance, and they found a snapping turtle in there the size of a manhole cover.
I believe it.
Yeah, and they were just freaked, like, what the hell? What are we gonna do with this dinosaur? It was the size of a manhole cover.
I'm sure a lot of people have put fish and reptiles and snakes and this crocodile is getting way out of control. Let's just put it in Central Park in the lake.
Mommy, the crocodile bit me. Throw it, flush it down the toilet.
I told you to leave that thing in Florida.
Right. So yeah. So have you gone out and have you done a lot of fishing during it? I mean, that's sort of a
no, because I kind of been in a transition right now at this point in my life where I'm I have considered already. I'm about to make the move next week for the first. Go do it in stages, but I'm planning to go spend time in Texas at a ranch that my friend owns, which is he's a guitar tech for Billy Idol and Stefan from Deftones is a guitar tech.
Sure.
His family, they own a huge 5,000-acre ranch in Texas, and he's got a studio there. And I never really lived that life, and kind of getting to a point in my life where it'd be nice having that peace and quiet and around rather than hearing helicopters and domestic violence around me every night of the week.
Are you moving down there?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, full time.
Wow.
But I'm gonna do it in stages. So I'm gonna just drag pieces of my life over there in a couple trips rather than do the moving. I'm not doing the moving truck type of thing.
What part of Texas is that?
It's Hood County, so it will be right underneath Dallas.
Wow.
So it's not too far from Dallas. So Dallas is like an hour away or something like that. But there's 12 lakes in the property. There's a shooting range on the property. Longhorns running around, cows, cattle, dogs, goats. It's a real farm. And
here you go. Our friend Blast Beach says, what part of Texas? Lake Travis and Lake Conroe are party lakes. Lake Livingston and Lake Buchanan are fishing lakes.
I'm gonna be spending time on all those lakes because really that's one of the main reasons I'm going there as well. Fishing is amazing over there, and you can drive your truck right on top of the lake. You can drive it into the lake. That's on your own risk. You know what I mean? They're so cool about everything there. You can fish as many rods as you can handle. There's no you can bait up, which is like chumming, they call it in American version, but it's not really chumming. You're not really throwing dead fish in the water. But if let's say you're fishing with corn and bread, you can actually put some corn and bread in the water. Here, there's all these kind of rules. California is super full of rules. You can only use 2 rods. You can't fish after dark. There is like a list of rules that make the sport really unattractive and makes it really hard. And you have to fish in the horrible conditions of the hot sun. But in Texas, you can fish day and night. You can be on the lake for 2 weeks. You can camp out. You can have your gun right there with you. You know what I mean? You have that right. You can you can barbecue, you can do all these things that are so forbidden everywhere else. But Texas, there's a couple of good states to fish, but Texas is a state where when the East Coast is great too, upstate New York and all that, there's some beautiful lakes in this country. When you drive with a tour bus across all these states, and I'm just looking through the window and I'm just seeing all these lakes and this is just from the freeway that I'm just like, wow. I mean, there's got to be some fucking whackers swimming around in that lake. You can just tell, because it's kind of like a hunt, you start noticing.
We'll circle back to the fishing thing, because we could do the whole show. We could do the whole show on this.
Here we go.
Obviously, here here you are as a young person, and you're fishing. Tell us, how did you come up? Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a musical household?
So basically, I grew up in a very kind of like, like for instance, New York is right on the docks. There's anywhere where there's a shipyard in the world, like Rotterdam, huge shipyards where a lot of cargo comes in. New York is one of those places. Antwerp is one of those places. That's where I grew up. So my dad hung out with a lot of guys on that were, the dock mafia, where things come in and things fall off the ships, and and all this. So my dad was involved with a lot of those type of people, even though I never saw him working really hard. And I learned these things. I started figuring these things out later on in life. Like, who was my dad really? Why did he have a bunker in his house filled with shit that I couldn't see, and that was locked up with all these locks? And growing up in a household where I grew up in a beer brewery that my parents bought in like 1974 or something like that, 75. And it was a huge building with different levels of playing ground that was all abandoned. So basically, like, one of those big warehouses you see on the Jersey Shore sometimes, all abandoned. It was a building like that. So in the wintertime, when it was raining, I had a skateboard ramp in there. I could skateboard in there, ride my bike in there. It was that massive. It was like the length of a football field almost. So my dad never really completely renovated it. It was always kind of like an open eyesore, and you could just kind of like break in that place. So my dad had a lot of guns as well. My dad was very heavy-handed as far as raising me. I was put pretty much in boarding school by the time I was 6, 7 years old. Not because I was a bad kid, just because my mom was afraid that my dad was going to beat me to death probably one night, and he was a drinker as well. So I go off to boarding school, one of those boarding schools where you live for like, from Sunday night to Friday evening, and then you go home for 3 days. So from my 6 years to like for a good 6 years to my 13th, I didn't really go back home and went to a school back in my own neighborhood. So I was in 2 different boarding schools. And these boarding schools are usually pretty strict because it was still in the in the early 80s, mid 80s. Once I came out of the last boarding school, that's when I started fishing and going to that lake a lot. That you see all those the pictures that I sent you. That's
this is from the 80s, this shot, right?
Yeah. So I was out of boarding school then, because you couldn't rock a haircut like that. So I had a mohawk right there. And I think that's actually when my parents broke up and me and my mom moved out of the house where I grew up. And we got some small apartment near my mother's sister. And I was really heavily into, so really the way I discovered really music is because of my mom. She had records in a closet. Discovered Elvis records, the Platters, a lot of soul music that my mom liked. But Elvis really, that was one of the things that kind of like the image, and and I already heard him on TV before, and
I can relate.
I can Everybody
relate.
probably did.
Elvis was the first thing I listened to as a young. I think Elvis was the first music I ever listened to. Yeah.
Because your mom or your dad probably had it in their house, in the house. It was in their collection.
But he was so cool. He was so cool looking. He was like the coolest,
And he was televised. So now you were able to glance an image of someone that you already had some familiar. I can't even come up to word right
familiarity.
Familiarity, yeah. There you go. Wow, what a tongue twister that thing. You had that image of him with the guitar, the acoustic guitar, or like that Gretsch or whatever. And there was something that drew me to that. I don't know why. And I'm sure I played the records a couple times once we had finally a record player set up. And then I was kind of off to the races. I was like, okay, now I can go to a record store. So I noticed that my mom sometimes goes to a record store to buy her music. And this is like, I'm 6 years old, tagging along, going to the record store. And I'm looking through records, like kind of like it's comic books, You're looking at covers, basically. You don't know what's on these records. And one of the records I picked up was the Best of Kiss.
Oh, here we go with Kiss again. Yeah.
And I put it on at home, and I absolutely hated it. And I'm like, and I think I might have heard I Was Made for Loving at that point. That came out in 78. So maybe just, around that time. So it might have been the reason why I picked up Kiss, and I couldn't find the song on it. So I was all bummed out. And I thought it was horrible, but they looked great.
Yeah.
So I think that's really first, actually, when I went back to the record store. So probably gone to this record store where I grew up in this little town underneath Antwerp, maybe like 3-4 times. And then I heard something on the radio that really grabbed me. There was actually, I think the first single that I bought by Killing Joke was Love Like Blood. And I think that was 79 when that came out. And I remember buying that single, and I was trying to buy it at the record store, and the guy from the record store knew my mom, and he goes, "No, you got to go back home and ask permission to get that." I'm like, "What?" So I go back home, like, "Mom, he wasn't wanting to sell that song that we heard on the radio." She went back over there with me and gave the permission. So I got the single. It was like guy's chest with a samurai sword. He's kind of cutting himself. He's kind of like bleeding a little bit. And I rocked. And the funny thing is the back cover of that single was a picture, a black and white type of picture that they used the same color of the image of the paper to go over the image. It all blended in the same color of purple, kind of. So it was kind of like a silhouette-ish dark picture. And the bass player at the time, Paul Raven, he looked just like my dad when my dad was young. And I always remembered that. I was like, man, it looks like my dad when he was young. Trippy. Not knowing that me and Raven became really close friends later on in life. And I pictured them tours with them. So that was the first single. The second single that really made a big impact on my life was Runaway Boys by the Stray Cats. And that was probably 1980 or 80. Yeah, 1980, I think. Right. And I was like, what, 8 years old or something? Mm-hmm. And that really, really changed my life because I had, before I even had, that was later on, but before I even had an upright, I would use like one of my uncle's bow, like a big bow from shooting bow and arrow. But it was these big ones that they use like in Belgian competition to shoot these darts out of
Sure.
So it was really big, and it had like a really big string on it. So I used to use that to pluck on it, and I knew hearing that sound from Elvis records, from also Bill Haley. Mm-hmm. That song 1 2 3 4 4. That song. That was another song right here, and you hear that upright. So that sound really. There was something really hardcore about it. It was something really rebellious.
The early Stray Cats was great, man.
And you were pulling that string like that. You were like, I'm not going to play it all like this, like those jazz guys. We're going to, there was something very punk rock about the way some of these bass players, even Bill Haley, Bill Black, that played for Elvis, his bass player, he played like that Doghouse style. Yep. So that was something I was like, and then
did you pick up bass first?
I did buy a guitar at that same record store I bought those records at. There was a cheap Hyundai, whatever they were called or something.
Hondo.
It's a Hondo, right? Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Is it a Hondo?
A Hondo. Imitation like Strat. A Sunburst that my mom finally got me, and that thing, I didn't know what to do with it. It ended up in the closet, and really, then I started gravitating towards bass, towards that upright. Mm-hmm. So then later on, because of skateboard movies, especially like Paul Peralta, and I got into like all the hardcore stuff, and the punk stuff, that was because of skateboarding. Then I kind of got dabbled back into guitar playing, and then started trying to learn it because I was more like 16 but the psychobilly scene was a big part. So when I got into the Stray Cats, then I had some friends in Antwerp that were really into psychobilly, and through skateboarding, we were all like a pack of like, let's say 35, 40 skateboarders, and we all brought different things that we adopted. Like some guys were punk rock dudes, some guys were listened to the Cult, and were more like long hair, like, but the skateboard industry brought so many styles and artwork and musical styles and influences of different individuals that as a group, you kind of like had some friends that were into something, and I gravitated to. There was a couple of friends that I had in skateboarding, and they became psychobillys, rockabilly, not really rockabilly. They became really psychobillies. So you had mohawks, like it looks like punk,
Yeah.
but you're having
Now,
mohawks.
for those that may not know, like that term psychobilly, like what is that? What is that? So, like Reverend Horton Heat? Like, give me a couple of bands that are like. Who are the great psychobilly bands?
So the Reverend Horton Heat are definitely a psychobilly band, but they go so much further than just psychobilly. I mean, they could be any type of Billy type of band.
Right.
Those are he's a genius, but he doesn't look psychobilly. See, he looks rockabilly. He looks traditional 50s rockabilly. Now, psychobilly look could be more like Waddy from the Exploited.
Right.
You know what I mean? More that look. There was psychobillies that looked like that as well. So the punk influence in England. So psychobilly is really something that started. Neo-rockabilly was before that. And even bands like the Meteors and stuff like that were like neo-rockabilly-ish. And
yeah,
then
there you go.
like
Tim
it all
says
came from the Teddy Boy.
Meteors. Yeah, the Meteors.
Yeah, it all came from the Teddy Boy look. And that got really popular in the UK. That look, you know, like Andrew Dice Clay looks like that. You know, that Teddy Boy look. So that it got very popular in the UK. A stream of bands started appearing because of it. Then that turns into neo-rockabilly, turns into psychobilly because it gets flavored up with punk rock again. So there's this psychobilly now is born, and all these bands look super like, you know, there's a lot of colors and different hairstyles and shaved heads on the side involved, and a lot of washed dye, that Clorox dye, washed blue and white, like you know, jeans outfits that people were wearing. That it was like a badass look to it and a good style of music. There was a lot of dope bands. I really got into that, and then started playing with some psychobilly bands as a bass player. My first band that I was really in was a band called the Ratmen. I mean, they had some smaller bands before that, but they never really did anything. The first band that I was on a level where I could say I was in a real band was a band that on the Belgian circuit was pretty big, and they were called the Ratmen. And they just had released a rockabilly, neo-rockabilly, psychobilly record on Nervous Records, which was very popular.
Now, you're wearing a Ratmen shirt in this photo.
Yeah, so that's before. That's basically the very first band that I played with.
Is this Crank?
You know, this was Crank, but they never really did anything. We never really played. We played some small little warm-up shows type of thing where we invited some of our friends, and this was one of them. But I am wearing the shirt of the band who was at that time the you know, the biggest band in the Belgian circuit that was dominating and had a record deal with an English label that English label was like the roadrunner of psychobilly,
right?
Which was called Nervous Records, and a lot of big bands that we all idolized were on Nervous Records. And the Ratner actually did their first record on Nervous. Then the bass player leaves, and I meet the guitarist at a like little like a college party type of thing. When I was like 18, and I already had an upright by that time that I was playing every day. And I walked up to the guitar player singer, and I was like, "So what's happening with the band, with the rap?" And he goes, "Oh, we lost our bass player, and so that's pretty much it for us. Good luck finding a bass player." And I had longer hair back at that time because of soccer. I was playing soccer at the time, and so I asked him, "Can I try out?" And he looked at me kind of like, and I thought he was going to say like, "Yeah, that haircut right there, that's because of soccer." So we used to call it like you know, we used to call it the carpet when you have a carpet in the back. You know, that's a bunch of tapestry going on back there.
You own this? You own this stand-up bass?
Yeah, that upright, right? Basically, I used to work. I had like a job where I used to go to school one day a week, and then the rest of the week I worked in like doing signs and banners type of thing. A lot of like, you know, painting letters on window stores and all the front of that. So I was working with somebody down the street, and every day I would ride my bicycle past this music store, and that thing was sitting in the front on a rotating display.
That thing.
Yeah, I never gave it a name.
Yeah,
But
that
she was
thing.
sitting on a display, like constantly rotating. And at night I ride by, and the whole store is like dark except for one spotlight on it. So you can still see it. And I'm like, oh, that thing is haunting me. And I had to really, like, literally, my mom, I know she, rest her soul, she came out of her pocket for that and made sure that I had and I could follow my dreams. So
That's awesome, man.
So I asked the guy in the bank, can I try out? And he looked at me, and I didn't look rockabilly. And he goes, yes, you can. And I'm like, I thought I wasn't going to get the gig because my hair doesn't look anything like the style of music.
Right.
And he goes, no, that's exactly why I like it. And so they didn't mind that I would have long hair and stuff like that. So, but too bad that band only did like 3, 4, 5 shows. We never did another record, which I was heartbroken when that band broke up. But then I ended up in some other bands,
I remember when I first met you, which was in Los Angeles. I guess a couple years after that, people would say, "Yeah, he was in a rockabilly band, right?" And it's like, what? Like when I first met you, like now, I guess we're skipping ahead a little bit, but in what was it, 94? I was in A&M studio with Biohazard. They were doing the State of the World Address record. Ed Stasium was producing, and a lot of LA people were hanging around, and you were one of them. We got to know each other a little bit, and you were hanging around. Why did you? What was the impetus to bring you to Los Angeles in 1993, 4?
93, yeah, November 93. I came. It was one of those things where I played in some bands in Europe, some metal bands. It's really tough to usually get your feet off the ground in that part of the world. I decided all the bands that I really liked following were bands from California, out here in Venice, like Beowulf, Excel, all these Venice bands. There was in general a lot of bands that I saw when for instance, I saw Biohazard many times in Belgium before I even thought of coming over, but there was always that passion, like, man, I want to go out there.
And that's and you figured, I guess, I mean, from your perspective over there, was LA was where the action was, huh?
Yeah, because I had talked to Dale, the singer of Beowulf, in letters. That's the only way that you could, back this before the internet and everything. The only way you can get in touch with somebody was calling them or writing them a letter. So I had written with them before, and then I made a phone call with him. I knew some promoters in Belgium that were possibly able to bring Beowulf to Belgium to play or tour in Europe, because there was the same guy that Biohazard used on their first tours.
Right.
So there was this drive to coming to the US. I finally made some money from working, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy myself a ticket. I won't have a lot of pocket money. I'll have a couple of grand, but I'm going to buy myself a ticket to LA, and I'm going to go hang out with Dale. I'm going to go watch Beowulf rehearse a little bit, go tap,
right on,
go hang around in Venice, buy shit that's really cheap in the States and expensive in Europe. You know what I mean? One of those things that probably waste all your money on Melrose in a week.
It was fun.
Back in the day, Melrose was fucking cool.
We used to walk. We all used to get together on one day a week when they weren't recording, and like 30 of us, we'd walk around Melrose. Yeah,
it was a scene, man. It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
So I think, coming out in 93, I was like, I'm going to pack my bags, and there off I went. My mom knew I wasn't going to come back. She had this feeling.
Yeah, right.
So there I am in Venice, and after like a week or something like that, I end up in Hollywood at St. James Apartments.
You know what? Listen. Chucky Brown just said, and I was wondering. Chucky Brown, our resident historian, says he was living underneath Biohazard during the time Biohazard was recording State of the World Address. And I was thinking, because I was there and we were all living at the St. James Apartments.
Yeah, you guys were on the 4th floor. I was on the 2nd floor in the same apartment building. And we had no idea.
I
And I think you guys probably moved in there a couple of days before because you guys were all at the grocery store, which was on Fuller and Santa Monica. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Sunset. So
What was
Fuller
that? The
and Sunset.
Ralphs? Was that the
Yeah, the
Ralphs?
Ralphs, which is called the Rock and
Rock
Roll
and Roll
Ralphs.
Ralphs. Yo,
And I was like, hey.
wait. Can I tell? Wait, I got a quick Rock and Roll Ralph story. Right.
Oh
This
shit.
this is a good one. This is a good one. When we were staying at the St. James, it's like extended living. You rent it by the month, and it was nice. And everybody had to bunk up with somebody, right?
Yeah.
So at night, the only time we'd go to this Ralph's supermarket on Sunset Boulevard. It was called Rock and Roll Ralph's because you go in there. It was open all night, and you go in there at like 3 a.m. and you run into all these rock and roll characters. At one time, I'm pushing the car through Rock and Roll Ralph's, and I turn the corner, and who's standing there? Lux Interior and Poison Ivy from the Cramps.
No way.
Right? And I was like, and they're shopping, bro. They're like,
shit.
and they're like just like shopping. I'm like, oh shit, Lux Interior.
I would be fucking starstruck.
Dude, I'm like, wow. I'm like Hollywood.
If I saw them, I would be starstruck.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's like really like that's Hollywood. They were Hollywood. They were very Hollywood.
I didn't realize. So you were at the St. James with us. Okay.
Yeah. So I decided to go to the supermarket one night as well, and I didn't see Poison Ivy and Lux, but I'm walking up to the front door, and there's somebody that really resembles the image of somebody that I know. And I'm like, get closer. I'm like, man, that really looks like Bobby Hamble. But Bobby had a beard. And and usually I'd never seen him with a beard.
Yeah.
And it was pretty scruffy. Like he had a big good one on there.
Yeah.
And I get closer. I'm like, he's even dressed like Bobby. What? Is that can be? They're from New York. Why would he wouldn't be in LA? All that thing goes through my head. And I keep mad dogging this person because I'm kind of so like, what? Huh? And I get closer.
That was us.
And he's smoking a cigarette and he keeps eyeing me. Like he noticed that I'm looking at him constantly, like, what the fuck? And he noticed something is going on. Like, hey, this kid keeps, hey, yo, what the fuck you're looking at me for? It's about to come out. Like I can tell it's coming. And I'm like, get close, and I'm like, Bobby? And he goes, yo, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like straight up. And he remembers me from Belgium.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you here? He goes, we're doing a record here. It starts going up. That's good to see you. What the fuck? That's great. And at that time, Bruce walks out. Danny walks out.
Yep.
And Evan walks out. And they're all like, what the fuck are you doing here? Kind of like, are you following us around? One of those things almost. I'm like, no, I'm. So, okay, here's a number. Blah, blah, blah. Come hang with us at the studio down the street. We'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And he tells me, like, I go, where are you guys staying? Because I'm about to. He goes, right here, St. James apartment. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm staying at St. James apartment. Where? What? Oh, we're in room 4, like something. And so I knew it was the 4th floor. And I'm like, I'm in 2 something. I'm on the 2nd floor. Oh, fuck. We're in that apartment. Come see us.
That was fun, man. We had fun.
I went upstairs, knocked on the door, and everybody was in. You guys had 2 apartments, I think.
Yeah. No,
right?
it was. Yeah, we had a bunch of apartments because everybody. It was me and Scott Koenig, Danny and Bruce Manning,
oh my God.
Bob. Yeah, everybody had.
It was a party, man.
Yeah, it was. We had a good time.
The story goes, as I'm walking through the hallway to go use the bathroom, I think I see Evan, and he's doing his hair. And he's looking in the mirror of the bathroom cupboard, like right there, the little medicine cabinet. He's looking in the mirror of it, and he's doing his hair, and he sees me walk by, and he goes, "Hey, Christian, come back." And I like kind of walk backwards, and I'm like looking at him, and he's looking at me in the mirror, kind of back, and he goes, "Fear Factory." I'm like, "What? Fear Factory?" I go, "I heard that name before." Somebody had given me a Fear Factory CD a long time ago as a tour manager. The same tour manager that brought by has it on the first tour in Europe. Gave me a Fear Factory CD one time. I was like, I'm going to bring these guys out next. So going back to the Evan thing, he was basically like, something clicked in his head. And he goes, wait a minute. I saw those guys just recently. They were asking me about a bass player. You should, and he said, you should play bass. And
Can
I'm
I
like,
take over
"What?"
the story? Can I
Yeah.
take over the story here? And then the next day, we were in A&M studio, and
Well,
you
first we
came
went to
up.
the nightclub, right? First we went to the nightclub where I
No,
had to go
no,
meet Bird. You didn't go to that
Crazy
club
Girls.
on.
We went to Crazy Girls.
No, we went to that club on Melrose.
Dragonfly.
Smalls. Remember?
Smalls. Oh yes, right.
And that's where I
Right.
met Bird. And then I had to go. Then I came to the studio.
But I have it. This is a memory I have. I have the memory of being in the studio and Evan taking out the biohazard bass, his bass with the bio, and him
Punisher bass.
the Punisher bass, and him give you and us wishing you luck, good luck, bro. And then you walked out with it, and you ended up getting the gig.
I know. He's like, yo, get him the bass, get him some strings, put it in the case, and it's taken. I'm standing there like, you're doing what? What? So I couldn't believe that he did that, and I'm always be thankful to him for that.
I tell you, man, Evan. I know Evan. I know say what you want about Evan, but there's been some incredible acts. Evan's done some incredible acts.
He helped me jumpstart my career. Him and Bobby,
Yeah.
and Bones was with us
Bones
at the time too.
Yeah, Bones was doing Danny's drums.
Yeah, and we all went to that nightclub down Smalls because I had to go meet Bert somehow, and Bobby said, "I'm going there tonight. We're all going there tonight. He's going to be there. We'll take you with us." So it was like one of those things.
Yeah.
And they took me with them. We went to Smalls. That's where I met Bert. First thing that Bert asked, "You know how to triple pick?" I'm like, "I think I got it." So then Evan gave me the bass. I saw you guys at the studio because you were shooting the documentaries and stuff.
Yep.
And then that story. So now I'm in possession of this bass, right? In a case that says Biohazard on it in orange letters all the way on the side of the case, right? Big as fuck. Biohazard. And now I got to go to audition with Fear Factory, which is on Vermont, not far from Florence and Normandy area, in that neighborhood. This is a bad neighborhood. It's just terrible. If you're white walking around with a case that says Biohazard on it late at night in the dark over there, you're gonna get jumped. It's something bad's gonna happen. It's not gonna take very, very long. And my bus ride, I totally forgot to get off the bus to take this connection. So by that time, I'm in one of the worst parts of LA. I'm like in South Central somewhere. Sitting there, I'm like, the bus driver looks at me through his rearview mirror and he's like, you're lost, huh? And I tell him where I gotta go. He goes, "Oh, son, you're way fucking off the Richter. Like, just sit right here, don't move." And he had to wait for his connection because he had to go back that way anyway. And he goes, "Don't even get off the bus," like that. Because he looked at me, long hair. He looked at the case. It said Biohazard on it, like I was gonna do something bad. So then I ended up at Fear Factory's rehearsal. And as soon as I walk into that little parking lot, I heard gunshots, and I'm like, "Are those really gunshots or that fireworks?" And then a car started speeding like 85 miles per hour, crossing Vermont without stopping. He could have just taken somebody out. I'm like, "Fuck, what was that?" And I'm waiting outside in front of the door, and Dino sticks his head out and basically said, "Okay, we're working with somebody else right now. We're checking him real quick, but it won't take long. Don't worry, and we'll get you in like 5 minutes." So I'm standing there for like 5 minutes outside, and this is like the border of South Central-ish, right?
Yeah.
And I'm standing there, and like all of a sudden, like all these cop cars and a helicopter, and I'm like, "Holy fuck, where am I? Let me in!"
Yeah.
It was bad.
But you got in. I
got in, and I got the,
You know who I remember who was the guy with the dreads that was playing keyboards?
Rainer.
Rainer. He was a nice guy.
Rainer Diego. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. I liked him. Yeah.
Yeah. I still talk to him once in a while on Facebook.
Yeah. So you join Fear Factory and you get on board that bus and you guys do a couple of really, I mean, dare I say, demanufacturing obsolete or iconic
Yeah.
records at this point. Now you're playing bass at this point, right? I mean, you went on a run with Fear Factory. I think you did what, 5 records with them, top to bottom?
Yeah, something like that. I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever counted it, but probably something like
yeah.
that. It was probably like 15, close to 15 years of my life. A good
Now I
big
know, I
15
know,
years.
I know, I know things. Um, dare I say, things got complicated. But do you have any? Do you
You
have
said
any?
it.
Do you have any cherished memories of sort of like that early run with the
I
band?
only try to think of the I only try to think of the good times with that band because
Yeah.
I'm not really I don't like to down on things. I'm like, but it is
Hmm.
what it is. Fuck it.
Hmm.
I was always somebody. I had so many interests in so many different things because even when I was touring with Fear Factory, for some reason, because I was getting a full dose of heavy music every fucking day of my life. It's like listening to Napalm Death every day of your life. At one point, you're going to be like, okay, I think I need to listen to some Portishead right now. You know what I mean?
Right. Uh huh.
So for me, because I started learning a different craft, which was also because of friends in the skateboard industry and also Alchemist, which was a producer that is actually from LA, but he was working in New York with Mobb Deep. That was their
Hmm.
DJ and producer. I learned sampling and making beats. And once I got that bug, even during pretty much 10 years of my Fear Factory career, I had an MPC with me. I had machines with me on tour, and I was going to record stores and I was digging for old vinyl and soul records, and then I go on stage and play like heavy metal. So there was
And it
there
was,
was
and
always
and Fear Factory was heavy, man. You guys were
we
heavy
were
back
heavy,
then.
and I was
You were
looking for
heavy.
like records to make samples, and then learning the drum machine, which was all beneficial because once I learned drum machines, I was like, hey Raymond, look at this, we can sample your drums in here, and we can. So we started learning that, and that became like a new way for me and Raymond to write music because he learned the drum machine. Uh, and then I started working with a bunch of hip hop artists like
Right.
Cypress Hill, and DJ Muggs, the producer of Cypress. You know, bless him, he's the first one that ever put me in a real producer seat. It was like, you know what, I'm gonna at a studio that costs like $2,500 a day, and I need 2 songs from you. I'll be back. I'll see you tomorrow or something. You handle it. Here's the studio. Here's a big SSL board. There's DJ Muggs in the middle, in the back, and it's a very respectful producer. Did a lot of he wrote all the big hits. He wrote "Jump Around." That was his song. That was actually going to be a Cypress song that'd be real kind of set on for a bit, and then ended up being one of the biggest songs in history as far as hip hop.
And
It's
you
going to be
ended and
played
you
when
ended
we're all
up you
gone. He
and
was the
you ended up
creator of that.
you ended up playing a lot of live with them quite a bit, playing bass
Yeah,
with them
because they
live,
started
right?
doing, Cypress always had this live thing about them, even though when they
Yeah,
were just
yeah,
hip hop records, they just had
yeah.
this thing about it. And I met Be Real and Muggs at my neighbor's house, upstairs, and it's Venice Beach, a very beachy atmosphere here. We go like, I'll go smoke a joint with my neighbor real quick. I go walk upstairs, and Be Real and Muggs are sitting there, and I recognize them. I'm like, holy shit. And I go, I'll be right back. Let me go get my upright real quick upstairs. I'll be right back. So I went upstairs, got my upright bass, walked back to my neighbor's house, and put it in the front of the middle of the living room in front of them, and start playing Ain't Going Out. Doon, da, doon, da, doon, doon, da, doon. I start playing that, and their faces. And Muggs like, hey, yo, homie, I need your number. That's what Muggs said. He goes, yo, homie, I need your number before you leave. And he
That's
called me.
awesome.
He's like, fuck, come to the studio. Let's do some work. And then, that whole live thing kept brewing and brewing. And I know they already had messed around with some live stuff. On Cypress Hill 4, they did some rock stuff, but it was kind of like their engineer. I'll play the
Mhm.
guitar. And Bobo, which was with the Beastie Boys,
Yeah,
percussionist, also plays drums. So he got on the drum kit. And the way he plays drums is very percussionist because he's a percussion player. He's the son of Willie Bobo, which is like
yeah,
the Jimi Hendrix of
yeah. Of Latin
Latin
percussion.
percussion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So playing with him playing with Bobo, that Beastie Boys record, the In Sound of the Way Out. It's like it's the first record where they all played instruments,
Yeah.
and there's no vocals on the record. It's all just
I love that
lounge
record.
music.
Yeah.
That record
I love that record.
to me, that record has such a big impact on me that I really
I love that
realized,
record,
like,
bro.
I can use my upright all through my career, besides just
Yep.
playing psychobilly and rockabilly on it. I can put it in so many different I can put it on a Fear Factory record, which eventually I ended up doing because I felt like, because of people like that.
Would that be Edge Crusher? Upright bass.
Edge Crusher was the first time I experimented with using an upright.
There you go.
You know, and you know, everybody in Fear Factory was very open minded. We always were as a band, as far as, like, you know, using technology and using even, like, you know, electronic sounds and stuff like that.
Sure.
But the Cypress Hill thing, then really the band thing, hey, let's take this on tour, and we started playing shows live. And one of my first shows playing with Cypress was a thing in Vermont. I think it was like a snowboard event or something like that, and we were playing. I don't know who else played, because we ended up coming in just right before we went on, basically. But I remember on the way back, the band had left already, but it was me and Roy from Downset was playing guitar.
Roy, yeah.
Little Roy was playing guitar for Cypress, and me and him were the only people in the band. So we left on different. We didn't travel with the band back then. I think we were separated. So we were going back to LA because they might have been going somewhere else or something. So we're in the van, and Roy told me this years later. I got really sick in that van because we were coming down the hill, and the driver was constantly hitting the brakes, and I probably had been drinking the night before, and I had to go sit up front with the driver and catch fresh air to hopefully not throw up. And I told the driver, dude, stop driving like that, please. I'm going to throw up, bro. And he wouldn't stop driving like that. I got sicker and sicker, where I had to stick my head out the window, and I puked. And it all came in the side window. It was nasty.
Oh.
Okay. I told the guy, I go, quit, you know. So there's another traveler with us in the back of the van, all the way in the back, sitting right there. And he's kind of like, oh, fuck. And he looked at Roy, and Roy's sitting right there in front of him going like, oh, shit, Christian is really sick. And the guy tells Roy, tasking, your buddy is really sick, huh? And Roy looks at him and he goes, yeah. Roy told me later on, years later, he goes, remember that story when you puked and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know who was sitting in the back of that van? I'm like, no, I remember there was somebody sitting right there that played the festival. He goes, that was 50 Cent.
Oh.
It was 50, all the way in the back of the van.
Wow.
And he goes, hey, your homie is really sick, huh?
Wow.
Oh, that was 50 Cent before he even became, before he was probably even on Shady. That's all the way in the beginning.
Let me ask you about this. This is
Cypress days were fun. That was, playing with them, man. Let me pull it back to Fear Factory a little bit. At a certain point, you switch to guitar, right? Actually, you're playing bass here, right? Or is this? Yeah, I'm playing bass right there. That's
actually a 5-string bass.
That's when I started hanging out with Cypress, because we played some shows. See where it says Monster Magnet Fear Factory by has Metallica?
Yeah.
There was a couple of festivals that we did during '99 in Europe, and Metallica was headlining. Biohazard was on it. Cypress Hill was on it. Us and Monster Magnet. So, but they didn't feature Cypress on this magazine, of course. They only did a little bit, but you can tell that was those festivals, and that's when we all were, pretty much backstage, and plotting some stuff. Because my first show with Cypress was '99, so this is '99, and this is, I think, this is Dynamo '99 right here, where I made
Dynamo was the shit for a minute there.
I think I made the cover here.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Fucking made it.
Yeah, you've arrived.
Either the front or the back. I don't know. Might have been on the back cover.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Hey, let me take a sponsor break here, and we'll come back and we'll do album of the week with Sid the Kid. Okay.
Sounds good.
We'll see you in a couple. Well, there you go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. And our guest today is Christian Olde Wolbers. Olde Wolbers. from many bands, including Fear Factory and currently Powerflo and Vio-lence. We're going to get to that. Hope everybody's doing well on this shout out Sunday. We are sponsored by one of our sponsors is the Organic Grill. Did you know that? It's a vegan restaurant located in the East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue, featured in New York Magazine, the New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free. This year, they're celebrating their 20th anniversary, and they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing clean food. They are now fully reopened for business and look forward to seeing you, my friend. Get in touch with them and order some great food at www.theorganicgrill.com. And in keeping with our theme, in keeping with our food theme, Chacho's Tacos, located in Corpus Christi, Texas, opened their doors in 2001. Home of the almighty Chacho's Tacos, they cook up an incredible home-style Tex-Mex food, and this month they are celebrating their 20th anniversary. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their own words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi, swing by, get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Last but not least, DTFM Vinyl Distro is a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, hardcore metal, and more. Located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's industrial district, shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com, where the motto is death to false metal. What else? Oh, you know what I got to mention? Got to mention this. Tonight, my friends, on Channel 13, PBS, if you are here in the States, 8 o'clock, East Coast time. Ken Burns, there's a Muhammad Ali documentary that my family, the Stone family, have contributed a bunch of Muhammad Ali footage to. As some people out there may know, my father, Arnie Stone, directed a film called Me, We in the 1970s. It was a Muhammad Ali documentary. It sat dormant for many years. I got it back, did a film-to-tape transfer, color correction, and we re-released it for free on YouTube. We just figured, we did some screenings with it, and then we put it out there for free as a gift, to the world. We wanted it to be out there. Well, sure enough, the footage was so unique that we started hearing from people. And one of the people that got in touch with us to license a bunch of footage from our film for their film was none other than the great American documentary filmmaker, Ken Burns. So this is in 4 episodes. Tonight is the first. The next 4 days, a bunch of our footage is in episode number 3. So if anybody out there loves boxing or is a fan of Muhammad Ali, or really listen, if you're a fan of Muhammad Ali, you're a fan of humanity, really. We have a lot of footage in episode number 3, but just want to remind everybody, give it a watch. And, on behalf of my family, we're just really honored to be a part of a Ken Burns documentary. He's been a big influence on me as a filmmaker. So, so there's that, so there you go. Yeah, man, it's on tonight, people. Yes. Also want to mention, have to do it. It's standard operating procedure here. There is a Patreon page. And if you did not know this, and you are a patron, the New York Hardcore Chronicles, Volume 1, 1980 to 1989, a book I've been working on for 5 years, is coming out. It is available for everyone for free that is a patron. I don't care whether you're a $2 patron or a $10 patron or a $100 patron. All the patrons are getting this book for free. All you have to do is get in touch with me. You got to you got to pay for the shipping. It's $7 in the States. It's $25 in Europe. If you're a patron and you haven't been paying attention to the posts, get in touch with me. The book is yours, free to all the patrons. So, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I announced. What do you mean if I announce anything about the book? Listen, Scott, who just joined Patreon, hold your horses. I appreciate you joining. You know, but you know what? How about I bust your balls a little bit? Fucking guy just joins Patreon for $2. He's like, "Where's my book?" Unbelievable. And end of October, early November, Scott, is when it should be shipping. So yeah, Tim, watch the Ali thing tonight. Of course, he's Ken Burns. Yeah, it's coming out to everybody. And listen, if you join Patreon, and I want to shout out a couple of patrons: Ken DeWeese, Maribeth Israel Uyube, Walter Horbatak, Roy Ramon, the Reverend Paul Bearer, Dean Brooks, Kenneth Dutton, Rob Browning, Larry Kelly, Lisa Fierro, and the one, the only, Scott Gajewski. Is that right? Am I pronouncing it right? Gajewski? Polish? Gajewski. Yeah. So there you go. When's Christian releasing his book? Well, listen, bro, you can ask him when we get to the questions on the friggin' show. Yeah, the Rev is a patron. Are you? You know, be a patron. Did the Ali thing. We did the Roger, support Roger Miret. We got West Coast shows. We need to talk about. Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? Maybe it would be a good idea to mention this because these things are coming up. These things are coming up fast. Where is that? I don't know. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Coming up. We got, let me clear all this stuff. Don't be a Hatreon. Join Patreon. Gajewski. My main man, Scott Gajewski. Yeah, hold your horses there, Solus. We're gonna the last part of the show we're asking questions. So that said, if you're out on the West Coast, just real quick, you know, I'm not trying to mix business with pleasure here, but Antidote NYHC, we're doing a couple of West Coast shows, in celebration of the record coming out. Let me clear this out. Let me clear this out of here. Here you go. A couple of Scarred shows. What are the dates on these? They're coming up like in 2 weeks, right? Friday, October 8th, we are playing Alex's Bar in Long Beach. Get your shoes and socks on, kids. It is right around the corner. And then we're driving up to the San Francisco area. We're playing Pacifica right on the coast. Both shows we're playing with Fang. The Saturday show is Crash Fest. I think it's $5. Come on out, see us play. See us play out in California. What can I say? Get off your friggin' ass and come. Get off your ass and come see us play. That said, all right, yeah, Dissension, yeah, yep, we're playing with Dissension, yep. Michael LaRoche, great show, Drew. Keep them coming. I am, bro. What do you think I'm doing here? Ha! Just got a new patron as we're speaking. Everybody's scrambling for that book, for that free book. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We're not coming over to Europe just yet, man, until this thing calms down, bro. You know, nobody's going anywhere. Hey, Raul, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. That said, let's bring our guests back on. Hey, man. You all right?
Yeah.
Let's bring Sid the Kid on. What's up, Sid?
What's up, guys? What's going on, Christian?
Hey, Sid.
Hanging in there, man. How you doing?
Good.
Don't talk about your band on the show, bro.
Hey,
No, I'm talking about those big fish that you catch, man. That's some really big freaking fish.
What
does that have to do with your band?
Nothing. We're talking about our guest, not me.
Anything you bring up to Sid the Kid, he somehow turns it back into talking about his band. Like, hey, you know, It's really a nice day out. And Sid the Kid's like, well, my band, we like to play shows when it's a nice day out.
Damn right. Who doesn't?
All right, Sid. What kind of you're getting a little props on your shirt there.
Oh, this old thing.
This whole thing.
Such a great shirt.
Yeah. Hey, Sid, good job DJing the show we played the other night.
Especially with the intro, that was amazing too.
What was that?
I looked up exactly what the artist who does the intro for Enter the Dragon.
Oh God!
I looked and I was like, exactly. You were like, what the fuck, dude?
You know what? Here's the problem here. We let Sid the Kid. We told him what intro we come out to, and he looked it up, and we let him play it unchecked. And in the middle of our intro, all of a sudden, like, what is this?
Well, that was a part of the intro, apparently.
Yeah, there you go. Paris knows. We come out to.
That's what I looked. That's the name I looked up, and that's what came up on it.
Yeah, bro. There's a couple versions of the opening of Enter the Dragon, bro.
Well, I must have picked the other version that wasn't the one you wanted to hear.
Whatever. Listen, it's punk rock. Hey, let's do album of the week with Sid the Kid. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Album of the week. Boom.
Fucking legendary.
Yeah. Okay, Sid. Sid, you're on. Go ahead.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So, keeping with the flow on today's show, I decided, this is one to talk about, and that is Suicidal Tendencies' second album entitled Join the Army, which was recorded and mixed at the Record Plant in Los Angeles, California, I believe in January of 1987, and was released on June 9th of the same year on Caroline Records. I'm trying to remember this, I'm running this off the hip here myself. It was produced by Lester Claypool. Now, not to be confused with Les Claypool from Primus, just to get that one out of the way there. This was produced by him and the band themselves. The album cover, which is obviously so iconic, when you see it, it's a Suicidal Tendencies record. I believe was done by Michael Schiff, or however you pronounce that. To say, this was one of the most well-known albums for crossing over genres from punk and thrash metal, known as crossover thrash, a genre that Suicidal Tendencies pretty much have been credited for creating. Join the Army is arguably one of Suicidal Tendencies' pretty much biggest efforts, although it only reached literally 100 on the Billboard 200 charts at the time. And this was actually the first album, too, if I'm not mistaken, with Rocky George on guitar, too, which some people kind of think, when some people hear the first record, they think that's Rocky, and it's not. This is Rocky's first appearance on a Suicidal Tendencies record. And Mike Muir, obviously you can listen from that first record to this, his vocal style is night and day. It could be compared to a lot of things. Especially with Suicidal, they did have a lot of member changes at the time. And specifically, Rocky being on this, and I believe too, RJ Herrera, who had a thing too. If you listen to that record, you hear a little more double kick on that record compared to where it's non-existent on the first record.
They got a little more metal.
A little more than metal. But I mean,
that's really one of the pre-crossover records, really.
Yeah, and this record itself influenced.
What year was this, Sid?
Like
what year?
85.
85, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's when they started to
Michael Fife. Michael Seif is the guy who did all the artwork.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
He did the first Excel record, the No Mercy record, this record. He did Beowulf first album, I think. He was one of those artists. This artwork looked like the darkness was coming. You know what I mean? Like it was. He did a lot of those guys here. He passed away, unfortunately, but his artwork, man.
Just as a little insert, this West Coast, this is looked upon as a great crossover record, if you even want to use that term. And on the East Coast in New York, we had Cro-Mag's Best Wishes, which was an incredible.
But that's already later. That's already like 88, 89,
89.
See, this is 85. Yeah. Best Wishes is up.
I think it was a little bit. I think wasn't Best Wishes 80.
Age of Quarrel came out in 86.
Yeah, okay. So there was about 88, 89 Best Wishes came out, but this came out in 87.
To me, the DRI crossover was the big one for me that really crossed it over. Then put a stamp on top of it. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're mixing the two. Anybody can go fuck off.
Pat,
But Best Wishes is one of my favorite
there we
records.
go.
Right,
See?
yeah, right from the songwriter and guitarist's mouth. Best Wishes was 89.
Yeah, Best Wishes is one of my favorite records. Unbelievable
I
record.
love it.
That
It's
record.
great.
See,
And even
this
this record-
this Suicidal record, right?
Yeah.
Not too many people ever talk about the bass player in this record and the
it's
first
not,
record,
It's
Oh,
Luigi.
which
that's
is
right.
Luigi, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Luigi, and he's my
Yeah.
neighbor here. So me and
And that
Luigi
was the
are
last
very
record.
close.
That was the last record he did with them.
Luigi wrote
he
all
actually-
that shit.
He
War
co-wrote.
Inside My Head, all those songs.
He
Luigi
co-wrote
wrote,
some of the songs also on their next
On the
album
next
as well. Which
record,
a lot of
yes.
people don't know.
and he ended up in a lawsuit with them about that for many years.
Yep.
Because they were kind of like not paying him. He wrote How I Laugh, a bunch of parts on Surf Skate. All the Surf Skate was his song. Slam,
Yeah.
slam, surf,
Skate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote all that. He wrote a lot of songs. And he was a big part of that writing. But I think, like you said, they started going through a whole bunch of lineup changes after that. And
We also can't forget the one song that everybody knows on this record besides the title of the album, "Possessed Escape," which they did. And
Isn't
they did
War?
a video
Isn't
for
War
I live on
Inside
that street. Right, Possessed to Skate. The picture on the back was all done by Chuck Katz, but there's a picture on the front of the record where they're all standing in a record store. That's right here on the corner of the street. That is now like some psychic little house right now. But that building is the building where they shot all their videos. That's where the Suicidal Skates was. The record store was. They had Suicidal Records there. It was basically a shop ran by Dan from Excel and Mike Muir at the time. But that's right here at the end of the corner of my street, which is legendary. I always walk by to going like, fuck, that's the building. So that cover, Possessed to Skate, when they were shooting the pictures for that, my buddy shot that picture. He told me, like, he goes, dude, 30 minutes later, SWAT team surrounded us because they thought it was kind of a gang meeting in Venice. Everybody got arrested, like 30 people.
Isn't War Inside My Head on this record?
Yes.
Yo, I saw Suicidal play.
That's
I guess
song,
right at the Ritz. That first time they played the Ritz, right around this, and they came out and opened up with that. And
that riff, that those chords, is used. I hear it on other people's records so many times, still today. Yeah, that's it's
War
very
Inside
that's
My Head. Can you feel
record,
it? War Inside My Head.
That's a classic record. Even the record after that was really big. The record after that was really big.
Wasn't there an EP after that? And then How Will I Laugh? I think.
That Deja Vu.
Yeah,
that
was
blue,
good, man.
that blue bandana. That was.
Yeah.
See, on that record, a lot of the songs, there was a bunch of songs that were No Mercy songs that were supposed to be for the No Mercy record. Like Waking the Dead originally is a No Mercy song, became a Suicidal song.
Now, I mean, there's a bit of a tie-in here, and let's go with it.
That's a classic
Christian.
record, man.
Yeah, I mean, you end up playing in Beowulf, right?
Yeah, which was one of the bands that I idolized when I was younger.
Tell us about.
See,
it.
I was, people know me from being in Fear Factory, and which is like basically like a death metal band that got more commercial in a way. We had to try to figure out a niche to try to hang out with the big boys because death metal was it was a dying breed at that point. So Beowulf, I was really more like a hardcore. I came from the psychobilly to the punk scene, and then I really got into the hardcore scene full on. And Beowulf was very hardcore. They sound like a hardcore Motorhead. And there was a thing about Dale. He was OG Venice local, and that band. I remember the first two records are legendary, but the third record was called Unsentimental, and that's that record was very dynamic and really grabbed me. So that's when I started communicating with Dale a lot, the singer on top of the car on his truck, and he will come on out and come on to Venice. So I came to Venice, and then got to hang out with them, not knowing later on I would be producing one of their records, and then by mistake got into these pictures because they needed the bass player to fit into the group. And they're like, why don't you just jump in? Because I was hanging out with them in the backyard, like drinking some beers. And they're like, why don't you get into the picture? Because since you produced the record anyway, now you might as well play some bass. So I got to end up playing some bass, one of my favorite bands, which was pretty cool.
And then you went out and did shows with them.
Yeah, there's a couple of Key Club shows that are really dope footage. The pit in the Key Club was massive, and that was like 2012, I think. Yeah.
There you go.
So basically, Dale picked me up from the airport when I very first got here to the U.S. He picked me up from the airport.
Oh, wow.
And then I stayed with the drummer in the back. That was Rich.
Right.
I stayed with him at the rehearsal room where they were staying. He was living there. So I was sleeping on the couch and basically had to watch them rehearse every day.
That's
at
great.
the time before I ended up going to St. James' apartment. So from there I went to St. James. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that's so I kind of already knew him. And then when I moved back to Venice, actually I saw them again, but then I moved to the Valley. When I was living in the Valley, my neighbors in the Valley were from Venice. So one day I'm walking outside my coffee, and there's a guy with really long hair and braids, the way Dale always used to do his hair, standing on a ladder, fixing something on top of a roof. And I look over and I'm like, Dale? And he looks over, hey, Christian, they told me you were living right next door, because he was fixing like a childhood friend's roof or something. And that's how I got back in touch with him. And that's how we ended up doing a record later on called Jesus Freak.
Awesome. Hey, Sid, good job, Sid.
Hey, I tried, Drew. I tried.
No, you did. We did that. We did it on short notice, and that was good, man.
That's a good record, man. That's a classic.
Yeah, I told you it was going to resonate with you.
Yeah, that's a.
Sid, you want to shout anybody out?
Just everybody who's been like checking out the show, supporting the show, and just supporting hardcore and punk rock. That's the real. I mean, everybody gets the shout out today. Everybody does.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Sid.
All right, cheers, guys.
Okay. Later. Hey, I got a question for you. Did you let's go back to the Fear Factory thing a little bit, but was it in the middle of your career a little bit, a Fear Factory thing, that you did some rehearsals with Zach Wilde and Mike Borden, and you were thinking about joining Ozzy's band? How did that shake out?
That was when they were doing the Osbournes already, the TV show. Mm-hmm. That was probably like 2005 or 6 or something like that. Right. I think maybe 5. It was I got hit up. I got actually introduced by Robert Trujillo to Ozzy's camp, and they kind of already had made up their mind, because Ozzy's assistant Tony was already asking me for all my passport stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm in the band already, kind of like. It was like that, like it was a done deal type of thing. Woo! And I was like, wait a minute, but I haven't, kind of like, I just had finished. No, not finished. We were in the middle of recording Archetype, which was my first record playing guitar with Fear Factory. So I had big shoes to fill, and it was a very important record. And at that time, when they basically told me, you got to be in Ozzy's band, I went to rehearsal, because Mike Borden he was the one that goes, even if you don't do it, just come and jam with us, because you'll never get to take. He goes, you can always take that away with you to the grave. You know what I mean? I got to jam with Ozzy one time, and I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'll come and jam. So I went to jam, and it was cool, because Zach was asking me all kinds of Fear Factory questions. Are you going to put keyboards on this? And I'm like, because I was playing in the record. And I was like, how do you know that we even use keyboards? Like, he was very informed in metal. He goes, I know about you guys and Meshuggah and all that. I was like, what? So I got to know Zach really at that time, which was cool. And then I basically kept kind of like not giving him a straight answer. I never really told him straight up no. I kind of didn't know what to do. And then at one point I was like, and they were like, yeah, we already noticed. And Sharon was willing to take Fear Factory on tour. She goes, I don't care. But for me, the transition, and if I was going to become the bass player of Ozzy, I would have had to concentrate just on that. And I didn't want to leave everybody else kind of in the dark in my band, because we all put a lot of work into this. And that was another thing. I'm not really, I was raised not to just jump ship like that. So I stayed with my guns. And that's why I kind of told them I can't really do it.
Yeah.
And then, Blasco was already called in. They already knew that I was being finicky. They already had called the
that
guy
camp
they use now.
that camp. It seems like to me like that management in that camp. It's a never ending thing with them. As far as who's available this tour,
Yeah.
who can't do it now. It seems like every time they went out, oh, Joe Holmes is playing guitar now. So,
Who's coming back? I heard Zach's
What's
coming
that?
back to play. Zach's coming back to play for the next Ozzy tours,
Right.
which is great because he needs to. Ozzy needs him, and they're.
Yep.
I think Ozzy needs him more now than Zach needs him. I think because Zach's got a pretty amazing career.
Here's our friend Ashley says, I like Christian's other band too. I always ask.
Archaea.
I always ask you if I pronounce it, Archaea with John Howard from Threat Signal. Could you talk about how that came to be?
That was when Fear Factory. We all got into this huge lawsuit together, so we couldn't really perform. And basically, I didn't want to sit on my hands. And I told Raymond, "Well, we got the studio. We were already kind of working on this. Why don't we just do something else?" And I already worked with John and Pat because I produced the Threat Signal record. And just kind of like we were kind of friends at that time. And I noticed that John was really talented. And I was like, why don't you want to sing on this? We'll do just like a side project. And he's like, fine. So we kind of did it out of my studio and Raymond's studio. Raymond had a studio, which is now owned by Exhibit. And I had a studio in my house. So we didn't have to, I could do everything in house, which was great.
I never forget seeing Raymond after hearing Fear Factory and then seeing Fear Factory play for the first time and seeing Raymond had the best feet in the business.
Yeah,
man.
He never got enough credit for really creating because he took
unbelievable.
His favorite drummers were like Dave Lombardo and the drummer from Morbid Angel, Pete Sandoval. Those were his favorite drummers. Those guys would play double bass, but a lot of rolls. And Raymond was like, well, I don't want to be the same guy doing all the rolls too. I'm just going to be another guy doing drum rolls. Right. I got to do something else. And I think what clicked was when he saw Lars Ulrich doing the middle part in one. Wow. And the guitars and the drums and the double bass are doing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not So that part, I think, really he was like, fuck, imagine if you could play all the riffs like that.
Yeah.
And he started putting his mind to it because I see him sitting there struggling for hours and hours, like, oh, fuck. And then, sometimes he would call me like, just by thinking about it and like sitting there, like, I got it. I figured it out. We're not at practice. How are you at practice? Are you behind your drum kit? How did you figure out? No, it just clicked in my head.
Wow.
That's how Raymond was. Because Raymond didn't drink and he would figure it out. So he really created something that people are still doing and using today like there's no tomorrow. If he would have patented it, actually it was not really still his idea because Lars Ulrich was really the first one that kind of like put it in that, because other bands probably did it here and there, but we never heard it in that format. And he basically,
I remember being behind him and watching him playing live, and it was mind blowing at the time.
He was playing with Dr. Martens before. Later on, he used tennis shoes, but for a long time he played Dr. Martens, and he was doing a double bass. Big boots, Dr. Martens to like his knees, like big boots, like industrial look, like playing that shit.
Now, also, I want to touch on you've been on the Jay Leno show like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Right? This is interesting. Tell us about who you've done Jay Leno with.
The first time I don't even remember which was the first time. But I did Jay Leno with Snoop Dogg, with Ice Cube, West Side Connection, Cypress Hill, Ronnie Size, and Chingy.
That's awesome.
So basically, after the first time I did Jay Leno, it's organized over there. So I see the production manager, the stage manager for NBC at the time, I think, just kind of like handing out all the forms so you get paid, because it's a good little paycheck. It's like $700 or something like that.
Yeah.
If you play on the show, that's just what every performer gets.
That's awesome.
And I was kind of like, wow, 700. I remember last time I got $700. Where's that lady? And I saw her, and she kept ignoring me. And I'm like, and she ran away from me basically. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I see the production manager. I'm like, where's the lady that hands out all the paperwork to get for so we get our checks? And he goes, Christian, right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, we already got you on file. You're all sorted out.
Woo!
And I was like, whoa. I thought, when you see a production man, like, is it being backstage with like production on tour with Ozzy, they got great production. It's like they got laundry mats and everything backstage. But that was some other level shit. I was
That's
like,
awesome, man.
He goes, they go, Christian, right? I'm like, yeah. They knew, dude, and they didn't know I was going to beat it, but they saw my face and they knew who I was.
Well, listen, that is top shelf.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
it was
that's top of the food chain. That's top of the food chain right there. You know,
that was very. Jay Leno, I had a camera with me because I was filming stuff backstage, and I remember Jay Leno walking into our room, and we're sitting there, me with Cypress Hill, and he started talking about, hey, if I didn't have to work today, I would be in this room with you guys. Like he's talking about, I want to smoke it up. And he grabbed the joint and he was trying to hit it. No, and then he gave it back to V.
Oh, that's funny.
And I didn't really film it, but I started filming afterwards. And I had this little zoom, like this little fisheye. And I flipped the screen around to Jay Leno so he can see himself. And he put his chin like right in there. He goes, oh, yeah. He put his chin in the fisheye. His chin looked really massive. He was super fun. Yeah, he was awesome.
That's great. We have to talk. I just want to touch on a couple of other things. And I want to play. And I got to put up a couple of pictures. I hate not. This is another Fear Factory. Now this is like Fear Factory Mark. What would you call it? This is like Mark II. This is when
the transgression era.
Yeah,
this was the last record with that lineup.
That's Gene playing drums, right?
No, that's Raymond on the right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's Byron.
Right.
From Devin Townsend.
Yep.
Strapping a lat.
Got it.
Yeah, that was the last. Why does it say the Texas Silver Rush?
No, that's my sponsor.
Oh, nice.
Would you like DTFM Vinyl Distro or Chacho's Tacos or Generation
I like
Records?
The Texas.
Here, we'll do the Texas for you. Yeah,
the Texas Bitcoin Rush.
You thought that was the watermark on like, holy shit, that's the name of
Texas since I'm going there.
I thought that was the name of the band.
That's awesome.
We're the Texas
Longhorns,
Silver
baby.
Why
2000. Why is my nose itching? You're right.
I know, right?
Sure do something to your nose.
What the fuck, man? Hey, welcome. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. 2014, you had a serious motorcycle accident that put you back a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember hearing about that, and it was really, really.
It was that time where I didn't have a band. I wasn't playing shows. I was in search for something else to give me that adrenaline rush, and I started riding Harleys. I started hanging out with bikers that whole life, and I was like, should I get into this life? Because the rush you get from riding in pack with like either 12 brothers or 600 brothers, which I did. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, and that rush, it's just like playing on stage, and I was seeking for something else. And then one day I was on the freeway by myself, and I got cut off, ended up in the hospital with severe injuries. Like my leg was fucked. I thought they were going to cut it off. I was already looking at prosthetic. It was this prosthetic skier for the Olympic team that was on TV doing commercials, and he had two prosthetic legs, and it was all tatted up. I was like, maybe that will be a good look for me, since demanufactured, remanufactured, Fear Factory, part man, part machine.
Horrifying.
I might have to, I was looking into that already. And the doctor came back the next day, a couple days later. He's like, no, man, everything stayed together. You didn't get any infections, because if it would have got infected, it would have been done deal for you. But you can keep your leg. But my Achilles is still not attached, so I still I limp a little bit because one leg got shorter than the other, which I have to start getting fixed again at some point.
Oof.
But I just wear insoles, but it sucked. It put my mobility, it fucked up my mobility, but like I can't go running in the park or anything like that. I just can't. I do a lot of bike riding. I got a really
Right.
badass bike, and bike riding is my thing. Even when I go like outdoor expeditions, I always have like a bicycle, like a mountain bike with me. And luckily,
That's
some
a
of the
hor-
things
that,
that,
that- that's a
yeah,
horror that's a horrifying thing to happen, man. That's like
yeah, that
absolutely horrifying, man.
the experience of you laying on the freeway waiting for the ambulance to come, and you're just basically dying because I was bleeding out. And then when they got above me, all that shit, I had a cut on, I had my helmet on, everything, and I couldn't take my they wouldn't allow me to take my helmet off, but I pushed it off. I was like, fuck this, because I couldn't breathe. And my lungs were filling up with blood. And then when the paramedics came, they stood above me, I felt like I got stabbed. And I did get stabbed because they cut a hole right here before they had the IV all prepped to sedate me. The guy was already working on me. He cut me open right away and put a tube right here into my lungs.
Wow.
Because he knew I was filling up with blood. And I remember all that till like it was fucking yesterday. That image will never leave.
I've been there to a lesser extent. I got hit by we were filming, me and my brother. We were doing our documentary film 12 o'clock. And I was filming, some guys doing tricks. And someone behind me was practicing and he lost control of the bike. And I turned around and he hit me and sent me flying. And I broke my toe, my foot, my leg, and my hand. But, I came down really hard. I broke a couple bones. But, and I'm not no way comparing, this to, because what happened to you is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, my leg was like,
yeah.
here.
But I know that feeling of lying there on the ground and you're thinking, how broken up am I?
Yeah.
Like
I was trying to get up. I know, because you're full of adrenaline.
Yeah, and shock starts to set in.
Yeah, I blacked out for a while.
And then you know what? In my case, my brother was there, and to have one of your loved ones there, and like yeah. That was fucked up.
I was
to
trying
see
to get
the look
up.
in my brother's face when he was looking at me, that was fucked up. Yeah.
The only person I was looking at was the person that got out of their car because everybody was a big old the freeway jammed up.
Yep.
And the guy was like, "Stay down, stay down. No, don't take your helmet off. Stay down. Don't get up." And I'm like, "Don't get up.
Don't get up."
Because I woke up after I was blacked out. I woke up. I'm like, "Oh, I'm back." Oh, he's going to get up. I'm like, "Fuck, I want to get up." So I was trying to get up a bunch of times to a point where he's trying to push me down, and the freeway was like 500 degrees. So I fucking slapped his hands away, and I got up, and I saw my leg was like all like. It looked like when you were rinsing out of your towel, when a wet towel.
Woo!
My leg had spun a couple times, and it was facing like the other way, and I could tell like the way it was laying that my leg wasn't really attached properly to my leg, the bottom of my. So basically, my fibula tibia both snapped. It was basically like and then it was like laying like sideways. So when I got up, I was like, "Yeah, I will better lay back down."
Better take a.
And I laid back down, and then they, then I blacked out again eventually. But then they came.
So I'll take this. I'll take this. I'll use that as a segue. I mean, I know that happened a bunch of years before this, but
So
I mean,
3 years.
Eventually you resurface and you're playing in our beloved. You're playing with our beloved friend Billy Grazia Day in Powerflo. Tell us about how Powerflo came to be, and yeah.
Yeah, it started Powerflo. I was recovering in 2014, and Sendog already had came to my house to visit me and check up on me because he heard of the accident. Because he rides, he has a motorcycle club, and he came and checked up on me, and he was like, "Man, I know right now you're still all in shambles, but once you get better and you get on your feet, why don't you come play bass in this band that I'm trying to put together with Roy?" And I was like, "Okay." I thought about it. He played me a couple songs and it was cool. And I was like, all right, well, when I get better. So then I got a little better and we started started, hanging out with Roy and Sen and trying to get some songs together. And then Billy ended up doing a couple songs on the record. And then, we figured out we put Billy in the band too. That might have been a good idea. And then we had Fernando, and we basically put the band together around like 2015. We got in the studio, and by 2017-ish, I think we had a record out.
Yeah,
and
it happened fast.
Yeah. So we, started doing some tours, played with Brujeria on tour, played with POD a couple tours. So we did a couple really fun tours, and there's
I remember seeing these all around LA. That was cool.
That's crazy. Yeah, Billy and his wife and one of their friends, she worked for a marketing company, was able to pull that off.
Is that right? That's cool.
Yeah, Billy had. We knew somebody, and she. That's what they did. She goes, I can probably make that happen.
That's
and
awesome.
That's actually in Venice. That's right here on Lincoln Boulevard, right where I live. So I was like, fuck, that's crazy.
Where are you on? Wait, let me see is that Lincoln and Rose?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, that's Lincoln and Rose. Yeah.
My brother lives a block from there.
No way.
My brother
right there, that gas station on Lincoln and Rose, right across the street from Whole Foods. That's where that is.
That's where my brother lives, a block. He's right on Flower, right across from the Penmar Golf Course.
Well, I'm a half a mile away from him then, because if he lives on Penmar, I live where Penmar crosses. I live on Vienna.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which is a big street. Oh, well, Palms and that's all right there in the neighborhood.
Bro, no wonder why you want to get that. We want to go to Texas, bro.
I've been around this neighborhood for a long time. I love Venice, but Venice got really crazy.
Yeah,
and it's really the mental health.
I'm talking about just I go visit my brother. There's a homeless shanty town a block from his house.
You're dealing with a lot of mentally unstable people that you basically try to not confront, because you see one coming and they're towards you and they start cussing. You got to walk the other way, because I don't want to be confronting and get myself in a situation. I don't want to be. It's really bad. Venice is, especially the crime as far as like breakings and it's brutal.
Yep. Hey, we got a question.
Not like the
here.
80s.
It's a little question, a little early for the questions because it will come. But Darren wants to know: is there another Powerflo album?
Yeah, there's one in the works. I think it's pretty much. There's 11 songs. I know that.
Right.
I think Billy wrote the whole record.
Okay. So that's in the hopper.
Yeah, but I've been doing Vio-lence since 2019.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So, which honestly, Powerflo is a cool band, but it's not. I'm missing a little bit of metal in there. So when Phil asked me to do some fill-in shows in 2019, because their bass player Dean Carr, original bass player, Dean Carr, Dean Dell. Dean Carr is our other buddy. Yeah,
Dean Carr's your friend, the film director.
Yeah. No, Dean Dell. He couldn't because of family duties, and he has a union job, which he couldn't get off or something, to fill in a couple of shows. And I was like, oh fuck yeah, I need some metal in my life and get to play with. Because even though I was hardcore scene was my thing, once I started learning the triple picking guitar and playing some metal bands in Belgium with the bigger metal bands from that circuit, was when I started appreciating metal a lot more. And one of the bands that really drew me into liking a lot more metal, but I liked Testament was cool, but I would only listen to them for the guitars and see what they were playing. But I was never really a fan of the band. The only band I was really a fan of all the way around was Vio-lence.
Right.
Not so much the first record, because I really got into Vio-lence on the second record. I like the first record, but the second record was really, and I started playing American football in Belgium around that time. So being a Raider fan and this band, they pretty much live in the black hole. They were all Raider fans, all wore Raiders gear and stuff like that. It was something, there was a hardcore element about it that I really liked. I was into hip hop and stuff, and NWA was wearing Raider hats. Vio-lence was wearing Raider hats. It was this cool, like they're just more. They're more than just a thrash metal band singing about demons. You know what I mean? They had this hardcore feel, which was and be able to get into the band later on, getting asked to play bass was just kind of like, fuck yeah, you know what I mean? So we've only done one show because that's when the pandemic hit.
Bummer.
And then we just decided, okay, we're not doing shows. Let's make a record. We made an EP. This band hasn't recorded in 30 years.
Wow.
And we got Bobby Gustafson.
And just give us what's the current lineup that you're playing with in the band?
So it's Phil Demmel, the original, Sean Killian, original, Perry Strickland, original drummer, and then I replaced Dean because Dean was in the band, and they still had an all original lineup, and with the person who replaced Rob back in the day, which was Ray, and then he left, and then they got Bobby from Overkill, Bobby Gustafson.
Yeah, and
which is originally a New Yorker. He's a New Yorker, Jersey, I think, or New York. He's in New York, yeah.
Yo, absolutely.
Overkill's New York band, right?
Of course, bro.
Yeah.
Lemore's Brooklyn represent.
Right.
Paulie,
he is. Yeah.
Paulie says, how's it playing with Bobby?
Fucking Bobby's awesome. Bobby reminds me of my best friend that I grew up with in Belgium. Bobby's like the American version. And this is like my friend that I grew up with in boarding school, later on doing skateboarding, ended up being one of my first bands with. He reminds me like perfectly of the mannerisms, everything. It's just Bobby, and Bobby's super cool to hang out with. He's a fucking legend.
We got to shout out Sunday shout out to Bobby.
Bobby's a legend.
Overkill. He is.
All those guys are, you know.
Yeah.
All those guys in Vio-lence are the generation before me. That like Exodus and all those bands.
Right.
When I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, or 10, like 9, 10 years old, they were already playing shows. They were already playing in their high school bands and forming all these amazing bands. And I came pretty much they're the earlier generation.
Any shows booked?
We do have a bunch of stuff booked for 2022, but I think I'm not sure. We might have a couple of shows in November, but it might also be possible that we're just going to hold everything off until the new year
to see what the hell happens, right?
Yeah, because
it's a crazy world. Hey, let me shout out. Let me do my last sponsor break, and we'll come back. We'll take some questions from around the world. Okay,
sounds good.
All right. Yeah, come on now. We're getting down here. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. It is Sunday Shout Out Day. Our guest is Christian Olde Wolbers from Vio-lence and Powerflo and formerly of Fear Factory. Get your questions ready. I know we got a lot of carp fishermen out there. Fishing questions, soccer questions. Come on. It's Sunday. You ain't going nowhere. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, located in Lakewood, Colorado, is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2014, they have the large selection of CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and Los Angeles. From the pit to the ditch, they've got your back. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. Also, you asked for it, you got it. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and, amazingly, social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and, of course, Agnostic Front. During this current pandemic, all information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and, of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Want to mention a couple more shows coming up because, hey, we ain't going anywhere. And who are you fooling? Neither are you. Coming up Wednesday, October 13th, Brett Rasmussen from Ignite coming on the show. A couple days later, on the 17th of October, to celebrate the release of his new book. What is the name of his to celebrate the release of his new book? Surviving This, That, the Other Thing, Frank Bello of Anthrax. October 24th, Richie Crutch is coming on the show from Wisdom and Chains, Z9, and Box Cutter. And then I'm real excited about this one because, like I've said before, we're going to start doing some different things. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to take some side trips. We're going to get out of this hardcore thing and let's talk to some other musicians. Let's talk to some other people. Starting with our first side trip show, official, Wednesday, November 3rd, Adam and the Metal Hawks. Yo, I love this band. Look them up. They are an incredibly talented bunch of teenagers that are playing some great rock music. This guy sings, has an incredible voice, and they're a lot of fun. The second I saw him, I fell in love with him. I love this band. So I'm real excited about Adam and the Metal Hawks coming on the show. And so we're going to mix it up a little bit. Do not be scared. What else going on in there? Have I ever been to Fredericksburg? No, I haven't. I have not been to Fredericksburg, Texas. Thank you, Joe. It's a killer show. Yep. Yeah, they're all over TikTok. They are. They're young kids. Yeah, I mentioned this. I've mentioned this before. I think on the last show, I was talking to Dee Schneider's manager about getting Dee on the show from Twisted Sister, and so yeah. Let me talk to Dee, and we'll get back to you. By the way, I manage these other bands. I checked out the first band. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I saw Adam and the Hawks. I was like, yo, I've got to bring them on, man. I love these kids, So here we go. We're going to do that. There is if you're watching this in rerun, or as Dice would say, hunchback, there is a subscription button there. Please subscribe to the show. There's a merch line underneath there. Buy a mug, buy a shirt, support the show. There's a super chat. If you want to jump in the mix, do the super chat. If you have a burning desire question, if you do a super chat with it, I can't miss it. It'll come right up. So please, I think I covered everything today. All you patrons, as we said, you got this coming. I see a bunch of people jumped on during the show. Welcome new patrons. I'll shout you out on the next show. I appreciate your support. So that said, let's take some questions for our guest, for Christian. Please, you might have asked them already. Repost your question. Don't be shy. All right, you ready, bro?
All right.
All right, let's see what we got. Repost some questions, you bums, you knuckleheads. Listen, I'll answer a couple of them for you.
We didn't talk about fishing today.
We'll get to it. Believe me, we're going to get to it. Are you still doing that?
Well, you don't want to get to that.
Are we still doing that band? Are you still doing that band with Tim Young? Last I remember, you were doing rehearsals and that you were going to do vocals for it.
Yeah, that was the thing I was planning. Kept talking to Tim every week. Like, when do you want to do it? Okay, let's do it next Thursday. We had some things going on. He had some things going on, but we were planning it. And then the violence thing kind of took that off my plate, because then violence came along and then I had to concentrate for the violence. But it's still a great idea. I mean, I would love to do a record with him, some really heavy shit, and put some death metal vocals on it. It's always been maybe I'm building a studio in Texas, which is the next little venture with my buddy Rem, building a studio over at a badass ranch. And if I can get Tim to come out there to record, the goal is to have a studio set up with the drums, everything ready to go. Never have to break anything down. It's our own drums.
Man, you're serious about this Texas thing, huh?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. There's so much freedom. There's no crime, because I live on a ranch where it takes 15 minutes by car to get from the front gate, from the mailboxes to the house. It takes 15-minute drive. The property is that big. So I can, you can shoot in the backyard. There's a gun range. There's everything. There's kind of freedom I never really experienced before. And I kind of want to experience that. And I think at this time in my life, it's probably a good time to get out of the city for a bit,
Here's a question from Pepe. What is Christian's favorite soccer team?
Manchester City. We tied yesterday, unfortunately. We're not doing we're not doing bad, but we're not doing great this year for some reason. We won the Premier League last year, but this was when I played for Hollywood United, and which was I was an assistant coach for the goalkeeper squad. I was the coach, helped assist the coaching for the goalkeeper squad, and I was kind of like a last reserve. If three other guys would get injured, I would get my shot. But I never got my shot to play a real game. But I trained with these guys, and which was a professional USL team. That was around 2007, 8, 9, 10 era. I was already like in my mid-30s.
Is that this?
So this what led into it. So this is a pickup game with some celebrities and people in the film industry, because you can see on the bottom next to me, that's Billy Duffy from the Cult, the guitar player from the Cult.
Oh, right on.
On the top on the right, the big dude right there, that's Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols.
Damn.
In the middle, that's Vinnie Jones in the middle on the top right there.
Oh, sure.
That's
yes,
Vinnie
it is.
Jones.
Yeah.
So we had different teams, and that was our home field. So we would do like soccer events on the weekends as charities. I think that particular charity was with Richard Branson from Virgin Airlines.
Wow.
And I started playing these events, and the first team was like, oh, you need to come train with us. So I started training with the first team, all these professional kids, and which was a little bit of a, see, that's during that time.
Tell us about these gloves you're wearing. I know you're involved in this product. Give us a little background on these gloves.
Ever since I was a kid, I was a goalkeeper from when I was like 6, 7 years old. Those goalkeeper gloves were like visually like a big thing, and getting a pair of these were like a no-no, because at the time they were expensive, the equivalent of maybe like $50, $40 back in the 80s, and they have that Mickey Mouse soft foam. So you play with those things 3 times as a kid and they're ripped up. So if your mom was not going to buy you those gloves, they're like, no. But I had a cousin playing professional in the first division who used to get me some pairs here and there. And there's an addiction for those gloves. It's just kind of like how people are into fucking Nike Air Force Ones or something, there's this passion for gloves. And when I started playing again, the same, oh fuck, I gotta buy a new pair every week. Shit's expensive. Real good pair of gloves from Nike or Adidas, or right now in the stores is like $180 for the top of the line. It's not cheap. So I had a buddy that I played with and trained with for Hollywood United, and he was a professional player as well. And he was like, man, let's start our own company. And this is around 2009. I was like,
right on.
Fuck, let's, that's how I started getting involved. I pretty much designed the logo, and I came up with the name. Aviata is kind of like from aviating. When a plane lifts off the runway, you're aviating. When a goalkeeper goes to that, pick the top corner, a ball out of the top corner, he's kind of aviating that flight. So that's where that kind of came from. And I started designing this on a piece of paper with a pen. Started drawing glove designs, drawing a logo, a name. And basically, like my partner was more the business mind as far as like putting the company together and having.
Let me ask you a question. I'm not that fluent on football. On let's say, I mean, but do just goaltenders wear these gloves?
Yeah, so it's a very niche market.
And why wouldn't other players want to wear gloves? Because no one touches the ball, right? Yeah,
they don't touch the ball. So in soccer, only the goalkeepers are the ones that pick up the balls. So when you see that soft foam on the bottom of the hands, that's like a German 4mm, like super soft foam.
I see.
That you can actually, even when it's wet, it will still grip the ball. So we started a company and we sponsored a bunch of keepers. I sent you a couple of pictures with Cristiano Ronaldo and Pinto from Barcelona. So because of my music connections, I found out through a buddy in Spain that plays for Barcelona. So this guy, that's Barcelona during the Copa del Rey, which is like a huge fucking tournament in Europe. And so this guy is Pinto, famous goalkeeper for Barcelona. And I got introduced to him through a friend in music. And he's like, hey, Pinto does music. He does hip hop. I was like, really? Yeah. I can put you in touch with him. So I get in touch with him somehow, which is difficult. And I'm like, fuck, I'm talking to fucking Pinto. And he asked me like, and I start talking about my glove company. He goes, I know you have your glove company. I found out. He goes, what can you do for me music wise? Kind of like, because he's a producer. He's got his own studio and stuff.
Right.
He goes, I know you're involved with Cypress Hill. Is there any chance you can get me Be Real on one of my hip hop songs that I'm producing for a Latin group?
Wow.
And I'm like, yes, I can. Because the whole Latin thing is very great. That's a good connection right there. And I went to I go, what are you going to do for me? He goes, I will wear your gloves in not the Champions League. I'll be on the bench, but I'll wear them in Champions League. My contract with the current company I'm with, this is a company called Rush, which I know since I was a kid, came to an end. But Nike is about to give me $500,000 for my next contract. So I might have a little window where I can play your gloves for a little while in between my, when I signed the big deal. And I was like, fucking perfect. So I go to Be Real. Dude, I need you to do me the biggest fucking favor in the world. And he did me that favor. And then Pinto was wearing the gloves for a lot longer until he retired, actually.
That's awesome.
So he wore them in like Spanish league. And now you have people in the glove world going like, what the fuck? How did Aviata have the money to pay this player? Because they get paid serious money to wear shoes and gloves.
Right.
The biggest team in the world, he's the number 2 for the biggest team in the world. And when that number 1 didn't play a couple of games, he's in there. Our gloves all over national TV, and people were flipping out on this. You're like, how the fuck did you pull that off?
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like,
yep. All right. Hey, let's we're gonna do the cart. We're gonna get into fishing because I have it lined up. But let's just do a little music stuff. All right, here's an interesting one. How was the recording of Your Mistake with Freddie for the Demanufacture record?
That was really, really cool because I think especially me and Raymond had a lot to do with that happening, or us even recording that song, because me and Raymond kept talking about it in practice. We were talking about a couple of covers, and then I was such a big hardcore head, and Raymond's like, oh, I love Gorilla Biscuits, one of my favorite bands. I love Sick of It All. So, me and
I
Raymond
would never associate Raymond. I would never associate Raymond.
He loved hardcore. He loved Gorilla Biscuits is his favorite band.
That's cool.
From the hardcore scene, and
that's
Sick of It All. And they toured with Sick of It All and Biohazard. He loved Biohazard too, but Raymond appreciated hardcore a lot, to where me and him, I think one day he started playing Your Mistake, and Andino right away picked it up because he knew Agnostic Front. And we ended up covering that song.
Sure.
Then I think we might have tried to get, I don't know if we went and tried to get Roger originally. And for some reason we got in touch with Vinny, and then Vinny brought Freddie down. And I think Freddie was like 15, 16 years old at that time.
Now, soon after that, if I remember correctly, was the infamous Dynamo 1995 show, where it was like all Roadrunner bands, including you guys, Biohazard, and
we played together in that show.
And Freddie came up and did it with you guys, right?
I think Babel had just put out their first record.
Yeah.
He came in. That was really cool. That was a cool festival, man.
Yeah,
that was a fun.
Right.
I mean, everything started changing, in the 2000s, but those 90s music in the 90s and touring, and there was some changing in the 90s, like when Korn came on the scene, and and Limp Bizkit, it changed the wave a little bit, but we had the early 90s, 91, 2, 3, 4, like 92. I mean, the records that came out of those first 4 years in the 1990s, maybe 5 years, every record was just a classic. Everything. Every band that we knew that was, everybody brought out fucking really groundbreaking records.
I love this here. Dark Star Music says, man, I thought Evan Seinfeld was a business hustler. Christian is into everything. Awesome, bro.
Hey, I hung around Biohazard. They were wearing like Adidas, and like, where did you get this from? Fresh Jive, and all these companies just throwing shit
Fresh
at them.
Jive.
I was like, wait a minute. I need to start talking to some of these dudes. So I took it upon me to start doing that for Fear Factory. Before we knew it, we were getting Red Bull boxes at every fucking show.
Yo,
we were getting
what's his name from
Adidas.
Fresh Jive?
We
Rick
used to
from
get
Fresh
so
Jive.
much shit from all these companies because, you know,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Evan was the king of that shit.
Yeah, Evan was
Getting free gear.
I remember we went to Fresh Jive down there in LA.
You
and
guys
like,
used to rape people. Boxes. So much shit. I remember I was at the apartment and you guys gave me shit. Hey, you want this? Yeah, beanie, this and that.
Dude,
and I was wearing like
every couple years.
Pervert, that company.
Pervert,
all these companies.
no, there was like Pervert, Fresh Jive,
Bronze Age.
Ill Mob. It was mobile, but backwards. Ill Mob. There was so much. Dude, I mean, every once in a while, everyone would be like, yo, I got to clean out my closet. You want some of this stuff? And I go over to his place and I'd end up with like literally a car full of stuff.
Yeah.
Like 30 pairs of jeans, you know, fit, and I was blessed with the same shoe size as him. So I still have shoes in my closet from 30 years ago.
DVS. We had a big deal with DVS. Mike from
DVS
right. Was so cool. And I think Raymond today still wears DVSs from when he had them back then. I saw him like not too long ago. I go, DVS? That's still from that sponsorship 20 years ago? He goes, yeah, man, I have a full closet of that. Every 6 months, I break out a new pair.
Roy Ramon asks, it may have been mentioned earlier, but I missed it. How did he get hooked up with Snoop?
That was because when I moved to because my buddy who I was my neighbor, the photographer, Block, he hung around Cypress and a lot of producers, and one day I was hanging around one of the producers for Snoop, and he was like, hey man, you got that upright, why don't you come over to the studio? I got something for you to play on. So living in the Valley, I lived down the street from Dr. Dre and Exhibit and all those guys, and Everlast was like pretty much down the street from where I lived as well. So I was surrounded by the entire West Coast hip hop, that all those guys were living in the Valley. So not being in Venice for a little while, because I bought a house in the Valley at the time.
Right.
I was hanging out with all those guys, and I was, for me, it was like excited to learn new ways of producing and just how they worked, because it's completely different from the rock or the metal world, and being around like a bunch of gangbangers in the studio and shit, it's a different vibe. I remember walking into Snoop Dogg's studio one time with my bass, long hair, and I walked into the studio and there's 40 cats all drinking 40s and smoking weed and partying, and they all looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I sit down, I grab my bass, and I started playing, and they're like, what the fuck, like that? And then Snoop Dogg, I never forget it, he goes, I told you this was my white funky nephew. And then they all started high-fiving behind each other like, oh, that's funky, yeah, keep playing that.
That's great.
I was like, man, this is a whole different atmosphere.
Do we even want to deal with any Fear Factory questions? Is that necessary?
I'm not in Fear. I haven't been in Fear Factory since 2007.
Yeah. Have you heard the new Fear Factory album, Aggression Continuum? Thoughts on Fear Factory continuing without Burton?
I hope he continues as long as he can. If he's passionate about it, I wish no ill will towards anybody. I hope he stays fucking working and continues his passion and his dream. That's what we all want to do.
That's right.
God bless him. Good for him.
Yeah.
I have enough passions in my world to continue to even, I don't know, it's like that's revisiting an old girlfriend. No, there's women out there, man. Don't go back to your old girlfriend.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a sea of women out there.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad we got at least one. I go, Drew doesn't ask any of the hard questions,
The hard questions.
Christian, do you still have that book coming out?
I'm definitely planning it. I haven't really officially started it, but I've been planning it out. I've been talking to some people, and I did honestly get a little discouraged a little bit when I heard like John Bloodclot talking about how he was going through seminars to learn about writing, how to write a memoir and how to write books for real. Because I guess there is an art to it, just like anything.
Mhm.
and to learn to do some seminars and learn that art. And he was talking about how he would do like 3 weekends, like 8 hours, and
Mhm.
like, holy moly, I really got to put some time in seminars now to learn how to write a book. I might, so, but I do know some people like you, some people that have some book experience I can always ask. But I mean, I can't really see why. I'm just going to write, the
Just
stories
do it,
from the
man.
beginning
Just
to the
do
end
it.
in
Just
chapters,
do it.
you know?
Just do it.
Yeah, I
You
know. I
know?
just got to do it one day. And
And I
after I
will
get
say,
this move to Texas in, I'll have a lot more free time on my hands.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. We'll do one more question and then let's do a couple minutes on fishing
Yeah.
because I'm excited about that. This is coming up a lot. Christian, will there be any new Archaea?
I was working on some new Archaea stuff, sent a couple of songs to John, like 2 songs, I believe. And John said he was going to figure out some melodies and put some his things to it. And I think John got busy too with another band for a bit. So, I mean, it will happen eventually. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. But there will be a time for it. I really want to do a lot of records still,
Yeah.
For instance, I really want to play in this is a little bit of a secret, but I really want to play upright bass in Hank Williams' band.
That's awesome.
I noticed because I've been following for a little bit, and because he does this mix of punk, hillbilly, metal, rockabilly, country.
That's Hank
country
3. That's Hank
3, yeah.
Hank
He
3,
does
right.
this mix of everything.
Right.
And I've been dying to play upright bass, that's slapping, like in a band again. And if there's one band on the planet, I mean, I would love to play in the Reverend Horn and Heat, but I know that's not going to happen. But Hank would be, I think I could fit in that band. And he started following me a couple, like yesterday or something like that on Instagram. So since I'm going to be in Texas, he's in Tennessee.
Phil,
that's only
yeah. Phil
couple miles down the street.
Phil was tight with him. So
okay, because of Super Joint, because he was in Super Joint.
Yeah. Now let's get into this, and I saw a couple of questions. I want to get back to. Let me put a couple of questions. Let me set this up a little bit. Here's another shot of you as a young teenager, right? And fishing as a young teenager. And let me just do a couple of pictures here so I could set the table.
You can tell that's when I discovered Psychobilly, because I started cutting my hair long on top and short on the sides. But I couldn't go too far because I would get an ass beating from my dad. But I was teasing, like, I wanted to have my sides shaved and then just long on top.
America or Europe?
Well, okay, so this is another story on its own. I've been dreaming. The sport carp fishing is the biggest. It's huge everywhere in Europe, but in England, that's where all the companies are. That's where all the pro anglers are. So one of my buddies.
Now, let me. So here in America, we have bass fishing. So is it in Europe? Is it known as carp fishing?
Carp fishing is a $10 billion industry in Europe.
Wow.
And England.
Wow.
It's huge. And then including the rest of the world combined with America. And there's carp anglers in Australia, South Africa. There's carp anglers everywhere that really have a passion for and catching this species, which is basically like a massive goldfish. And they feel like it. They're super silky. They're super soft. They feel like a silk. They're gentle water hippos, basically.
Right.
So that fish. So the story of that is, I went to England for the first time. We played a Powerflo show, and my idea of I figured I was never going to get the chance to fish England. So there's a couple of carp companies that I deal with in England that sponsor me some gear. But that particular lake is in the north of England, in Carlisle, which is Cumbria, all the way in the north of England. And all my friends who are pros in the UK, carp anglers, were like, why you're going up north to try to catch a fish? You're not going to catch anything. It's the hardest part of the country. Well, I have a friend of mine, which is a hardcore dude, loves hardcore music, and he's a carp angler. And he told me, you can come stay with me, and I'll take you to my private lake where I fish. It's called Oak Bank. And you can sit there for a week.
Who is this?
He's my friend. He's a hardcore. He's a guy from Cumbria. His name is Pete. Yeah, Pete.
Yeah, Pete, the hardcore pick collector.
Yeah, him.
Yes, that's it. That's my dude. Of course.
Yeah. So he told me,
Yeah.
I have all the gear from you. Some of my buddies have all the gear. You don't have to bring anything. We'll set you up. You can fish there for a week. Be a good
Ah.
experience. Since you've been wanting, I've been reading books about fishing England, about these stories about these carp in England since I was a kid. So for me to fish England was a dream. It's like going to a hardcore show in New York if you're from Romania in the 80s and you get to see the Chromax play in New York City or more. I mean, that's in their backyard, you know. So for me to be able to do this where the sport is really from was an honor. But these fish are so hard to catch. This is a super difficult lake. These fish know rigs. They know bait. They know you're sitting there trying to fish for them. There's no way I mean, for me. So basically, when I got into the van, when he picked me up, the first thing he told me, this is the greatest story. The first thing he told me, and this is the first time I meet him. I get into the van, and I sit next to him. He goes, "We're gonna get some food, this and that, and I'll take you. We'll sort out the fishing gear, and I'll take you to the lake, mate." He goes, and he looks at me. He goes, if you catch a 30-pounder, I'm chugging you in the lake. You're going swimming. And I will never speak to you again, he said. Because his friends have been giving him shit already. He goes, you're going to bring your buddy from America to the lake, and he's going to catch one of the big ones, which is like 1/1,000,000% on the Richter scale of me catching a fish in that lake. The chances are none.
And what Nick is saying is, you know, what's your most used lure? This is a lure in your hand here.
Yeah.
What are these fish going for?
So the fish, they do go for artificial stuff, but this is like, we call these, see the way I'm holding it?
Yeah.
So the bottom of that fishing line right there will be sitting on the lake, and that little ball is basically, it's green and purple, this one I have on.
Because they're bottom feeders.
They're bottom feeders. So that will sit just kind of on the bottom, kind of like floating around, like, you know, and the fish will suck that up. Corn is used a lot. Bread can be used.
I see.
Bread doesn't really stay on. So these are techniques where this can sit in the water for a couple of days like that, waiting for a fish. So in carp fishing, you're not constantly reeling in. You're basically putting your traps out, and they stay there for sometimes 24 hours, maybe sometimes 36 hours.
I see.
Until you catch that fish. And the cool thing about that sport is, you know, the gear, everything is the latest. Every company is always reinventing the newest things. You have these, see how the rods are sitting. So that's at night. So it's not just about fishing. You sitting there at the side of that lake with nature, away from everything and everyone, knowing that one of those rods can reel off. And you see those little black boxes on the front of them? Mm-hmm. Those are called alarms. So when you're sleeping in your tent, which is luxurious, we're not just sleeping on the ground. We sleep in tents on bed chairs.
There you go.
Be like that. And when
what's up, man?
Yeah, that's like, you know, it's a fucking experience. It's fun. It's really fun. And if you get to catch one, that's only a bonus, because being out there, being away from everything and everyone, it's very rewarding. Especially.
Here's an interesting. Blast Beach says, once he gets to Texas, Christian should enter the Bassmaster Classic at Lake Conroe. It's a 3-day tournament where the first place is $300,000.
Dude, bass fishing in America is a $10 billion industry, and it's expensive, because if you want to really get into the sport, you're going to be spending. If you're spending $100K, you got starter equipment. You know, some of these guys that are not even pros, but that just want to enjoy the sport because they like to, you know, just do it like the pros. It's like you go buy a really expensive Les Paul. A lot of times, no, you got to start with an Epiphone, and to get the best bass boat, and now you need a trailer, and now you need a truck. You got $200,000 in bass equipment. So there's girls in Europe that are really into the sport.
Dude, there's girls
and hot chicks.
Dude, there's hot chicks. Looks like there's more girls hanging out fishing than going to my friggin' hardcore show.
Hey, you know these memes that come from these really like these girls, like, you know, they want to get their nails dirty, that are like, somebody with a dead fish, I would never fuck that person. You know what I mean? There's these memes, like, if you really think holding a dead fish is sexy, first of all, these fish are never dead. We care for these fish like they are babies. If you kill one of these fish in Europe at a private lake, that's a private fishery somewhere in England, you'll probably get stabbed by the fish owner because these are their children, you know. See, look right there. And some of these fish get enormous.
Let
Like
me ask you so, let me ask you something. Like I know, right? Hegs is like, yo, hot chicks. Hot
yeah,
chicks
man.
love
This sport in Europe is a big deal.
So
it's like bass fishing here. You have hot chicks that bass
I know
fish.
you can eat. I know you can eat a bass, but can you eat one of these things?
You can eat everything. You can eat everything if you want to stick that in your mouth.
Listen,
yeah, they're bottom feeders.
There's a joke there. There's a joke there with this gal, but I'm not going to go there.
The only time I'll eat a fish like this or a catfish if there is a zombie apocalypse, and that's the last thing there is to eat. You know, carp are really introduced into. They're a native species out here because they were introduced in you know, they don't really grow in the UK and Europe either, but they are considered a native type of carp that is not invasive towards. It's not like Asian carp or the silver carp that are really invasive. And
those were introduced here in the States, and those are invasive species.
Like one of the ways they were introduced in the US was for food for China, the China workers, Chinese workers, Chinamen at the time they call them, that were working the railroad tracks. Like if you ever watched that series Hell on Wheels, the Chinese were coming from the East Coast building, and there was a West Coast company building, and they were holding those type of carp, which are called common carp. They have all the little small scales, which was a food source for them. It's like people eating catfish in the South, but for Asians, carp was a very cheap class, like the cheapest fish you can get in the grocery store probably, or in the fish store type of food for them. Easy to grow.
Tim says, do not eat carp that tastes like mud.
Yeah, it's very bony. I would never, you know, catfish people, I can see them eating because they, you know, the way they fry it and stuff. But people do tend to kill these fish on American soil. And a lot of these people that do that are bow anglers. They just bow fish these fish to death, and then they leave them on the side of the lakes just to raw. They throw them in the trash can. A lot of times they don't even do that. They just, you'll see like 30, 40, 50 fish laying on the side of the bank, just rotting, of bow anglers that have really no respect. I mean, I get people that want to shoot something and kill it, but at least eat it. If you're going to shoot these fish, then use it as fertilizer, take it home, make fertilizer out of it, do something productive with it. Just don't leave it rotting.
You mentioned something interesting to me. And I guess I should, let me put up one of those pictures again. I found this really interesting. Here we go. You mentioned that like the fish, the carp in upstate New York look different than the carp on the west. Like, and you had an interesting explain why the
it's
fish.
Just kind of how on the West Coast you see palm trees, and on the East Coast you don't see palm trees. East Coast, upstate New York, and everything upper part of the East Coast, not Florida, not down there, because everything gets tropical again. But you have that equator that divides that upstate New York, Massachusetts, New York. You know, it's very European as far as climate. Even some of New York looks very European to me. Like I can sometimes see parts of Europe, sometimes in places in New York. I'm like, this looks like it could be in Europe, or it has a lot of European vibe, and that climate, same. The fishing, it all, the fish in northern, on the East Coast look a lot more like fish in Europe than the fish on the West Coast look more like fish in Spain. Everything looks more Mediterranean.
Before at one point we were connected, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird. It's just it's the climate. It's because we have four seasons on the East Coast. We don't really have that on the West Coast. The fish on the West Coast are lighter in color. They're more torpedo-ish. They have bigger fins. They have more, you know, a river fish usually looks a lot different because they got to go upstream all the time. They have bigger fins. They're more torpedo-like. That's a mirror carp. So
this is another shot of you as a probably 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
You've been doing this a very long time.
Yeah. So basically, the sport, I was doing it when the sport was not even big and there was not a lot of carp products. Now this sport is so big and there's so many pro anglers in that sport that are basically looking at me. And I know all those pro anglers from Europe and England.
Mhm.
I follow them on Instagram. I talk to them. They all want to come fish the U.S. It's like the perfect vacation for them, to the unknown in the U.S., catching carp over here. And basically, the way they make a living in Europe is they make carp films. And there's a lot of professional films, amazing looking carp films about people going out to these amazing lakes catching monsters. It's kind of like watching River Monsters
Yes, of
with
course.
Jeremy Wade.
Yes, of
Jeremy
course.
Wade just went to a
Yeah.
carp lake, which I know the people from in Europe, in England, to go fish this beautiful private lake owned by some people that own one of the biggest carp companies in England. And Jeremy Wade was like, you know what? I fished for carp when I was a kid, but I never touched upon it again. And even do my series, when I was doing my film series, he never touched upon it because he knows that scene is holy. And he was like, I'm never going to catch
I'm not going there.
But he went like 6 months ago, and I know some of the guys from the company. I was asking questions like, how did he like it? He goes, dude, he took so much carp gear from the company. He goes, I'm going to get back in it. And he caught a couple of whackers. And there's pictures of Jeremy Wade holding carp, which it's a very, when you catch one and you have one on the hook and you reel one in, it's not just like dragging a fish in. You playing that fish for an hour sometimes. And you take the line again, and you're like, oh my God, I hope the hook doesn't come, because you're fishing smaller hooks. They're tiny. Right. So it's like riding a motorcycle.
Joe Frank asks, what's his dream fishing spot in the US?
Well, there's a couple lakes that Texas has, a bunch of lakes that I've never fished Texas that I want to start fishing. But one of the lakes that I want to fish in the US is, there's a couple of places, but the first one in my mind is definitely Dale Hallow, which is in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Huge reservoir. You need a boat to go explore. And basically you take your boat from the parking lot, from the van, you load all your shit on it, and you're going to motor to like a remote island that you don't even know what lives on it. Maybe the Bigfoot is on it, and you're in the middle of some big reservoir on a little private island, basically, because you know that's where the fish are. You got to go find the fish. Once you find them, you camp out and fish on them. And then when the fish move out, you got to go find them again. So Dale Hallow, the Connecticut River is another big one. St. Lawrence River, right there by Canada, all the way. There's so many places. It's one of those things where I'm going to be knocking on people's doors. Can I fish this lake in your backyard? It's beautiful, you know.
That's cool, man.
And film it. Everything is going to be filmed.
Well, yeah, and
that's the thing. That's where I want to bring you in eventually, and we go on a trip. If you ever get a couple days, 3-4 days off, you can work from the lake. I'll have internet in my van. But
I'm down.
If you ever want to,
I've never done it, and I'd love to do it.
It's super fun. We got to do it when I bring one of the big European pros out on a trip.
Scott, yeah, there he is, my man. Kajowski, Connecticut welcomes you anytime, bro.
Yeah, Connecticut is awesome to fish for carp.
Yeah. And what Chucky said about the 37-pound carp, that was in the lake. That was in that little lake in LA.
Yeah, the Park Lake in the middle of LA.
How did you know there was carp in there?
This is one of the lakes that I discovered all the way in the beginning. When I first got back into it in LA, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get myself a couple rods and I want to go fishing. It's something I haven't done since I was a kid. I know there's some carp anglers out here. And I started just looking on Google, and I found these little lakes in the middle of LA, and they looked very greenish. And I looked on Google online, and I'm like, oh, that looks like carpy. It looks kind of like very like. And that lake actually has a very European vibe for being in Southern California.
And I have that picture.
So I kind of like started like fishing there, and then maybe like 6 months later, I'm fishing this fucking middle part of the lake with a single grain of corn, a small hook against like some little island, some snags, and all of a sudden that rod went off, and it's probably the biggest. To date, it's still the biggest fish in the lake that ever been caught out of that lake.
This is the
that one.
What a monster.
And that actually took notice of some of my English and European friends that were like, dude,
suck on this, right? Yeah.
That was a 38-pound carp. So on a good day, that carp could easily be a 40 now, you know, and this was in 2013. And this is when I first got back into it.
How old is a fish like that?
I'm guessing this fish is easily 20, 25 years old.
And Keith asks, do you have to buy a license to fish in a situation like that?
Yeah. Anywhere in California, you have to buy a license. You got to buy a license for everything in California.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
you need a fishing license, and
Of course.
they're strict. You know,
Right.
that's why places like Texas, I don't even think you need to. I don't even need. They don't even need a license. You can do anything. You can have your AR-15 sitting next to your bed when you're camping out. Welcome to Texas.
Let's mix it up a little bit.
I can't wait to fish Texas and other parts of the U.S. There is some of the most beautiful lakes in this. You know, the part when you see Tony Soprano, I think it's like season 4 or 5, when he's got a big old fight with Bobby at that lake house when he goes and visits his cousin, and he's sitting and reminiscing at that lake. And I think it's got to be Pennsylvania or upstate New York. And you're just like, oh my God. And there's private lakes like that where people, you know, it's private, people own. So I need to start meeting a lot more people where people are like, hey, my uncle lives on this lake. It's huge. You can go fishing there any day, you know. I need to find some hookups where I can go fish straight from somebody's backyard.
Here's let's steer it into music for a second. Can he speak on being on the Roadrunner United project that Roadrunner put out to celebrate the 25th anniversary in 2005? So many dope musicians on that album.
I know I turned down Rob like a bunch of times. He goes, can you do this? And I'm like, no, I'm too busy. I'm doing a Fear Factory record. You know, and he kept asking me, and then Monty Connor asked me, and like, you got to do this. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I've tried to, you know, I did it in the middle of the Fear Factory record, which was normally any other day that would be a no-no, because we were always that type of band where if you're concentrating on what you're getting what really your job is, no playing around doing side projects in between.
What's going on here in this photo? Is that Chino? I couldn't figure out who.
No, that's Stefan from Deftones.
Yeah. Okay. I figured it was a Deftone.
Yeah,
right?
That's Stefan from Deftones and Be Real and me and Raymond sitting on the drums behind the picture.
Okay.
And that's us probably all the way in the beginning, starting to write songs for this side project that we had called Kush.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, 1999. We wrote like 45 songs or something, and never were able to put something out because Sony had us into a contract, a 2-record deal, which was amazing. I'm like, oh my God, this is a real record deal, you know. And Roadrunner got an earful about what was going to happen, and they sent me and Raymond desist letters that we couldn't deal with Sony and blah blah blah. That we were in a contract with Roadrunner.
Oh,
so this is all before even Archetype, you know. This is when I learned that, oh shit, we need to find a way to get out of the contract with Roadrunner, because that was kind of like running on its course.
Yeah.
So it took us a long time to get out of that contract. But this was probably 99 or 2000. I think this might have been 2000.
I remember the Kush thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. This was fun because we were doing it at the Fear Factory rehearsal spot.
Right. You know? Yep. Here's one of my last photos here. We went through a lot of them today. This is you doing your thing. I guess this is your second 10-year in Fear Factory because you're playing guitar.
Yeah. Yep. That was on my birthday in Germany, playing Full Force or something.
Wow. Look at that. That's awesome.
That was the time. They were, you know, of course there were big shoes to fill playing guitar. And I remember when I was writing the record, the internet was becoming a lot more popular, and MySpace was starting to happen and all that around that time. And
good old MySpace, right?
And Blabbermouth was on the internet, like rolling big time, and the trolls were being born. That was during the time the trolls were born. Yeah. And the criticism and comments and shit talking towards me picking up that guitar in that band were so fucking brutal. And I was laughing at it. I couldn't do nothing else besides laugh at it. And I'm like,
yeah, it gets to that point, man.
And I was kind of like, well, Raymond could kind of see sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck are these fucking dudes talking about? And Raymond and two were like, are these riffs even good? Like, you know what I mean? Where you kind of like almost started to question yourself. But Raymond would look at me and he's like, dude, this shit is so fucking sick, dude. It is raw. It's Fear Factory. It sounds like Fear Factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right. And then, but there was a lot. The shit talking was coming in heavy on that record. And nobody was like, yeah, he's going to do a good job. Nobody. And that was during the time when Ozzy asked me too. So that was also a big thing. Like, you know what? No, I can't really focus on that. Let me focus on this and try to hit this out of the park. And all the negative comments, I'm going to fucking, and I never really looked at it. I just kind of did what I was asked of me and kind of did what I felt. I never sat there like, reminiscing, is this going to be as good as this? Or I just kind of like, you know what? Let's just do this and fuck it. And if it's shit, it's shit. But if it's good, it's good. And I've never seen bad comments about the record, to be honest, because there's a lot of people that like it.
Was Fear Factory, Suffocation, Hypocrisy 2006? Was
Probably
that
the
your
last tour?
That was the last tour?
Yeah, I think that was the last tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I give you a lot of
pretty death metal that tour. That was pretty heavy that tour. I
always like Suffocation.
Yeah, it was fucking heavy. That was a fun tour.
Yeah, and Obituary I always like. I give you a lot of credit, in that regard. I can relate to it somewhat. Being in a band. Yeah, I'm in a band that I've sang for 37 years for, and there's people carrying on like I don't have any right to be singing for a band that I've been in for 37 years. You know, so but I think like yourself, I just sort of accept this is the world we live in now. You're going to have people that are going, blah 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 blah, and you're going to have people that are going yeah, and I just keep doing my thing and making my art and just be positive and do good things, and good things will come to you, man.
Even you probably don't even know this, but even at one point, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but even at one point, because Scott had left Biohazard, Billy looked at me and had talked to Scott Koenig, and they were like under the impression, he goes, that might be a good fit. And he comes to me, he's like, hey, what about playing bass and singing in you might not even have to do all the vocals. Billy might be able to pick up a lot of it, but you got a good throat, and we would think you're a good fit. And I was like, what? I looked at him like, what? Me singing and playing bass in Biohazard? Are you guys, what kind of drugs are you guys doing? I really thought it was like the most opposite. And I had to think about it for a long time. And Billy kept talking to him. And then Bobby called me and Danny called me. Yeah, we think it might work. And I was like, dude, I stood there looking at him like a deer in headlights. Like,
I thought, hey, excuse me, but I thought it was a done deal.
I was like, okay. And then with Powerflo, we were doing one of the songs. We were doing How It Is.
Yeah.
And I was like doing some Evans parts, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put a little more like Sepultura-ish throaty into it. I'm not gonna try to.
Right.
I'm not him. You know what I mean? Well, then it never happened somehow. I don't know what happened.
Listen, I'm.
But I was thinking about giving it a shot.
Yeah.
Because I was only gonna do it if it was executed well, and I was able to. And I feel confident of doing it, and put something into it that would make sense. And
the world misses Biohazard, man. The world, we
missed the original Biohazard.
For the record, everyone wants you to join Biohazard. So that's what Blast Beat says.
It'd be better if Evan was back in the band in the original Biohazard, but
yeah, of course. But it doesn't look like.
But it was at that time. It was really
you would
strange.
fit well. Look, you would fit well. Listen, don't make me get.
I got in the band because of them. I got into my musical career in the U.S. started because of them.
Yes.
So then ending up with them at the end would be this weird, how things.
Yeah.
Make funny turns in life, and you're like, that full circle. That's really a true statement.
That's right, man. Life's like
it was probably this close of happening, actually.
Look, you just rallied the troops. Everyone's like, he has my vote.
Because that last Biohazard record that they did that came out in Europe only, I believe. That sounded like a metal record. It was heavy. Mm-hmm. I think it was the last record where Evan actually sang on.
Yeah,
his voice was still on it.
Yeah.
I did some. I have video clips of when I tried out for Biohazard doing vocals. I'll send them to you.
Wow. Who knows? Maybe this.
It was me and I think Billy made me re-sing one of that video song for the last record that only came out in Europe.
Yeah, I don't know the
Born
song.
Chaos something. Forget.
Uh-huh.
He made me re-sing Evan's parts in Pro Tools at his studio to see, and then he sent it to Bobby and
I
then
see. Oh, it's sort of like an audition thing.
like an tape audition thing in the studio, and I recorded some. I got some on video. I'll send it to you.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you got to share those
But
videos.
It's one of those things. I always looked at my career and like I should have started singing earlier and try to. I was always afraid of like, you know, if you sing, you're selling something to a crowd and it has to be really good. And I was never good at. I was good at making melodies and probably I can do all that, but writing lyrics, that was the thing. Oh man, that was the hardest for me. And to see like people like that are very clever writing lyrics it's an art on its own. It's poetry and be able to put that in context by using the right words to make it very visual for somebody to see. That there's an art to that. I never felt like I was good at that, you know?
Absolutely. Hey, Chucky Brown says, speaking of Biohazard, in an interview back in 2018, Christian stated that the Judgment Night soundtrack, which I have a gold record for there, was the ultimate soundtrack.
Pretty much. That really, that fused
that was
hip hop and metal finally together. Yeah, there's people dabbing in. Anthrax did it.
Yeah.
Rick
was
Rubin
corny.
did it with Aerosmith.
Yeah.
You know, but it showed that at least they had the balls to do it, you know, and that was in their height of their career. And they're like, we like Public Enemy so much, we're going to do something with them. Yeah. And I always looked at us just like how Bias did something with Sendog for how it is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, it's still not really Cypress Hill. It was just Sendog. Fuck, I want to do something with Be Real. So on Digimortal, we did a song with Be Real, which was a complete B-side. This was meant to be not on the record. That was just because Be Real was hanging with us in the studio every day playing video games with Raymond during those sessions. He would come to our studio in Burbank every day playing video games with Raymond. So we were like, hey, can you spit on this verse? This is kind of like a B-side we're doing for when we do the Digipack or something. And it ended up on the record.
Wow.
And only Monty Connor and Dina would put record songs on the record. That was they were the ones controlling the last say in that department. So it ended up on the record, and I get credit now Christian's putting hip hop dudes on the Fear Factory record. That wasn't me. You know that song? That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
You took
that wasn't me.
You took the hit, right?
I took the hit for that. That wasn't me.
Man. Hey, all right, man. Listen, that was a real long show. It was a great show. It was really.
It was fun, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yep.
We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, man. It was a good one.
You would have since the beginning, since you saw the transition when everyone was like, "Here you go, have fun."
I was standing right there.
And he trusted me, giving me his bass, which was not his main one at the time because he had these Fodera basses he was playing.
Yeah, the Fodera was nice. Yeah,
but that was a Fodera too. That was his first.
Yeah,
Fodera.
right. It was.
It was a black Fodera with the Biohazard logo.
And
he gave me that bass to go try out. I wish I would have pictures of me playing with that thing at that studio at the time, but that was legendary. I will thank him and that band forever for paving the way because Biohazard. I've always said it in our music career. Yeah, there was Sabbath and all that, but in our lifetime. When Biohazard came on the scene, they shifted. It was an earthquake. People started acting different, playing different, dressing different, jumping around. All these bands that never really jumped around that much started running all over stage because Biohazard had that shift and Pantera had that shift too on Vulgar. When everybody went back into the studio, started sounding like Vulgar.
Yeah,
there was and Korn,
game changer,
and Korn too. The first Korn record, everybody started dressing different. Those were game-changing records, where not only musically,
absolutely,
but also like lifestyle-wise and urban. That whole urban thing, all of a sudden appeared.
I was there for that Biohazard ride, and I'm forever in their debt.
Baggy pants.
They put me on back. Oh, fresh jive.
Are those too baggy on me?
Nah. And then years later, I go through my closet and be like, are these and whoever,
Dude,
like
I
my girl and my wife, be like, throw those out.
you
Like,
wore that shit? Look how
you-
baggy these are.
what
Like
are you, 14
I
years
have
old?
shorts. I pulled out some army shorts out of some bag, and
Ah.
they were so big. I was like, no way I wore these. Like double X.
Oh.
Dickies size 42, size 40. I was never a size 40.
Or the shorts that would hang down to your ankles.
Yeah, shants. We call them
Oh.
shants.
Oh God.
We
All
call
right,
shants.
you want to shout?
Yeah, they're called shants. Stefan from Deftones still rocks those things every day.
Oh,
Shants.
shit. Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
Junko Jeans. That's another one, right, Chucky?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Frank says, thanks for coming on the show. What an epic episode. Oh, hell yeah.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right. You want to shout anybody out on the way out?
Shout out everybody who watched the show and was on the podcast, viewing this shadow debate. Thanks for the support, and let me know. Follow me on my Instagram, Christian _Olde Wolbers.
Yep.
And just send me messages if you happen to be next to a really nice lake or on a lake. Send me a message because I want to come fishing. And I got a new van that I just got that I'm building, so I'm going to be traveling over the U.S. doing I'll be doing some guitar lessons and stuff like that, and bass lessons like in person, because I'm going to be fishing in some of these areas. So we'll be doing some stuff like that.
Hey,
And,
I'm
just
out.
follow
We're
me on
playing,
Instagram.
We're playing out there in like 2.5 weeks. You got to come.
Yep. If I'm here, I'll come. Otherwise, I might be in
let you know.
Texas. I might be leaving for Texas next week and to go drop off my first load.
Okay. We're playing Alex's down in Long Beach. We're playing Alex's.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, Alex Bar. Yeah.
I
heard that. Yeah.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right. My pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Much love.
Woo! Woo! As Ric Flair would say, right? Man, that was fun. Whew. Boy, he made chance. He made me. That was good. Chance. God, that was funny. Hey, thank you. Thank you for making me laugh, man. I love doing the show. And thank you, everybody that jumped on Patreon today. I'm a really fortunate guy. A week from today, we got Sal from Sworn Enemy coming on the show. So we'll see you for that. Wow. What a great day. A lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody. So yeah, man. Just gets better and better. Well, woo! A lot of fun. Yeah, he was a nice guy. Yeah, Roy, for sure. Fun episode. I got into the fish thing. I enjoy talking about the fish. What can I say? It's nice. That's why I'm looking forward to doing. We got to get into some other stuff. But yeah, football and fishing all in one show. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a good night. Yeah, Ashley. Yeah, great guy. Fantastic dude. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you a week from today. Until then, do good things, and good things will come to you.